Chapter 1021. At noon the next day, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had finished most of their work, had lunch. They walked along the riverside for an hour, then took a bath for another hour. They found a house with good soundproofing, performed the rites, and fell into a deep sleep. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, they woke up, washed up and had lunch. At 9 o'clock, everyone was in position, and the military exercise began again. Zhang Xiaobao returned to his command center and recalled the arrangement before resting. He passed down orders. 4th Division, 3rd Battalion, 4th Battalion, pick up the pace and head east. Start the construction work at 225 Highland. Build 2 layers of hidden fortifications. After that, 3rd Battalion will attract the enemy's firepower. 4th Battalion will rest. When the first layer of fortifications is destroyed, continue the construction work. The messenger ran out to pass down the order. Zhang Xiaobao played with the binoculars in his hands. He looked up at the ceiling and continued to give orders. 3rd Division, 1 Brigade, 1 Regiment, make a large number of scarecrows. Everyone take 1 scarecrow and cooperate with 225 Highland. Go to the left side of the Highland and set up an ambush. Every 15 minutes, a team from each battalion will spread out and arrange the situation. Move in a small area. The rest of the team will move the scarecrows around them to create the illusion that they are alive. 3rd Division, 1 Brigade, 3 Regiments, go to the side of the 1st Division, 313 Highland. Start the construction work and make a layer of cover. Make scarecrows with the same number of scarecrows. Leave 1 battalion to shake the scarecrows. The other 2 battalions hide on both sides of the hill. Prepare oil and other materials to start the fire and attack according to the direction of the wind. 1st Division, 3rd Brigade, 4th Brigade, take out your multi-layered bamboo armor and stand guard at Highland 737, which is 20 li from the first peak of Mount Huangshan. If the enemy forces attack, look down from the high ground and charge with 1 battalion. 2nd Division, 2nd Brigade and 1st Regiment, cooperate with the 3rd Brigade and 4th Brigade of the 1st Division to set up fortifications on the 737 Highland. Make rolling logs and chisel boulders. 2nd Division, 2nd Brigade and 2nd Regiment, hide at the back of the hill and choose the time to attack. The 1st Brigade of the 2nd Division will be the reserve brigade. The 3rd Regiment of the 2nd Brigade will be the attacking unit. The 3rd Regiment of the 4th Division will be the attacking unit. With a distance of 300 meters, the whole unit will charge forward quickly without any regard for casualties. Lure the enemy to attack and expose the position of the troops. Give 1 to each brigade of the 2nd Division, 1 to each brigade of the 1st Division, 1 to each brigade of the 1st Division, 1 to each brigade of the 2nd Division, and 1 to each regiment of the 2nd Division. Each combat unit will act according to the situation. The objective is to kill the enemy's effective forces, deplete the enemy's firepower reserves, and make it look like the main force is here. A series of orders were passed down, and Zhang Xiaobao was left with only a single large group of soldiers, which had been reinforced to 1,000. Wang Wan, who was in the other room, had nothing else to do. She had already made the necessary arrangements. Now, she had to wait for the situation of the logistics team before she could make the next arrangements. Little girl, how much will we have to pay in order to kill 20,000 of the enemy's vanguard? The commander in Wang Wan's room looked at the sand table. He seemed a little nervous, or rather excited. He was finally going to fight for real. What's the rush? It's not 20,000, it's 15,000. The other 5,000 were taken out by the logistics team that was moving freely. With the main force and the sacrifices of so many logistics teams, how could we not take out 15,000? What I want isn't to eat up all of Zhang Shogui's soldiers, but to force him into the mountains of Huangshan. I'll leave him with around 1,800 people to defend the high ground, and report to the enemy's central army that our main force is in the Huangshan region. I'll give them a grinding battle. The commanders of our army on the other side of the forest fire area will definitely understand my intentions, and constantly harass the enemy's central army. When the time comes, I'll have Huzi lead 20,000 of you through the forest fire area to the port of Hangzhou. We'll constantly throw in small groups of soldiers to prevent the enemy from comfortably entering the port to resupply. Let's see how they'll defeat me. After transporting soldiers for such a long distance, the vanguard didn't first defend the shore, but instead wanted to launch a surprise attack on me. Do they really think I'm made of clay? Wang Wan coldly laughed. At this moment, Zhang Shougui was truly regretting his decision. He especially admired the general who had set up the forest fire. The setting of the forest fire had been too crucial. The setting of the forest fire had turned what should have been a tactical action into a strategic containment. My vanguard's first brigade probably won't survive. Did Wang Wan really run over there? My division's arrangement in the Huangshan region should be effective. Have we still not gotten in touch with the Central Army? Zhang Shougui was still insisting on the military decision to go to the Huangshan region. The remaining 15,000 vanguard soldiers were to defend the Huangshan region, where they could attack or retreat. After muttering to himself, he asked the messenger about the radio station team he had sent. Reporting, because the distance is too far, communications have not yet been restored. We also did not discover the enemy's first battalion tailing us. We only killed 22 people. The messenger reported. Order Zhao Hanzhong to pick up the pace. I don't believe that the enemy won't put up any defenses here. Have Zhao Hanzhong force his way through and quickly find out what the enemy's unit at the foot of the Huangshan region is. If the enemy is defending, let them attack the same way they did during the sword meet at Mount Hua. I don't want to have a small group of enemy troops constantly eyeing me. Zhang Shougui gave another order, and his request was very specific. Zhao Hanzhong, who was leading the 5,000 vanguard troops as the vanguard commander, looked at the sand table upon receiving the order. Our army will form 3 horizontal lines. Each line will be 1 li apart. Advance quickly. Wind direction. Wind direction due west. Level 4 to 5. The messenger reported the wind direction. Good wind. Find a high ground suitable for taking off. My vanguard's 30 gliders will all, no, send out 15 to scout the ground. Zhao Hanzhong was just about to say send out all of them when he suddenly remembered the hot air balloon team. They had taken off together and died tragically. Before they could even see the enemy, they had been blown down. According to Zhao Hanzhong's request, the referees found a place suitable for taking off. 15 small models of gliders were set up. Half a day later, Zhao Hanzhong received news that the enemy troops had hidden themselves and occupied high ground. They had even thrown down a few grenades, killing more than 10 people. Report the enemy's depth and number of people. Zhao Hanzhong asked the messenger about the gliders controlled by 15 people. It was impossible for him to arrange for 15 people to actually take off, so he had to rely on the referees. Report, the enemy's number is unknown. Rough estimate is around 50,000. If our army takes a detour to Mount Huangshan, we can avoid the enemy's troops on the high ground. If our army wants to take the shortest distance, we will face them head-on and form a siege. The messenger reported. How many? Zhao Hanzhong was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. There are 50,000 enemy troops at the foot of Mount Huangshan. Main force, send a telegram to the main camp. We've discovered the enemy's main force. 2 high ground, 1 small hill, 1 plain, and 1 depression are at the center of the 3 points. The enemy's 50,000 troops are defending. 50,000? Unless Wang Wan is an idiot, she wouldn't send 50,000 troops to 3 points. And that 1 high ground isn't a high ground. That hill is more than 100 meters high. She might have thousands or even tens of thousands of people there. Isn't she afraid that I'll flatten that hill? Even if Zhang Shougui was beaten to death, he wouldn't believe that Wang Wan would send 50,000 troops to 2 high ground and 1 depression. If Wang Wan really made such arrangements, then with her level, she wasn't suited to teach others military lessons. Even if the commanders in her family studied for another 80 years, they still wouldn't be able to reach their current level. Report back. Ask General Zhao if he would arrange such a defense when he clearly knows that the enemy has scouting methods. From now on, General Zhao's troops will act as they see fit. My troops will slowly approach. Zhang Shougui was very dissatisfied with Zhao Hanzhong's action of sending a message without using his brain. Zhao Hanzhong received the order. After thinking about it, he felt that it made sense. The main force was there. Even if Wang Wan wasn't there, The 50,000 main force was definitely from the first batch of academy students. How could the first batch of people that Wang Wan brought out be so few? How could she expose her military strength so clearly? F***ck, it's fake, it's all fake. Let's not care about the other two highlands for now. Go and destroy that small hill for me. Scouts, rush up there. Use 20 gliders and fly up there for me to see. My second brigade. Occupy that small hill for me first. Zhao Hanzhong cursed and gave the order. 20 gliders took off. A regiment of 1,500 people, pushing a few cannons, moved towards the small hill. The scouts also followed. Not long after, the aerial scouts returned with news that they had discovered the numbers of 2 battalions. The estimated number of people was 1,000. They also determined that some of them were fake. 2 battalions, 1,000 people? That's the configuration of a regular army. It's not Zhang Xiaobao's logistics troops. He always likes to have 700 people in a battalion. Could it really be a regular army? There are even fake people? Scouts, rush up. Gliders, continue to investigate. Zhao Hanzhong judged based on the numbers and numbers. He felt that he understood Zhang Xiaobao better, and was willing to create an independent battalion. For example, the 8 battalions of Fan Metro Cavalry that he had given to Wang Wan actually had 1,000 people in each battalion. Report, our scouts have heard gunshots. No one has returned after half an hour. The messenger ran in and reported loudly. At the same time, he put a few models that represented smoke on the sand table. General Zhao, our 20 gliders have disappeared. Smoke billowed on both sides of the high ground. They are being carried by the wind and are floating towards our army. Oh my God, they are playing this again. Is it because if my aerial troops fly a little lower, they will use smoke? According to this, my 20 gliders are gone? Zhao Hanzhong was very depressed. He thought that the other party's method was too despicable. Of course, he didn't know that even if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's aerial troops wanted to fight, the ground troops would still use smoke. Even if the smoke couldn't make the aircraft come down, it would make the aircraft unable to aim and guide. The ground troops would use smoke and all kinds of burning debris to make the aircraft attack the personnel. They could only use their eyes to estimate the approximate position of the enemy, and then manually lock on. If there was a country that didn't have such technology or even surface-to-air missiles, then they could only wait to be beaten. When a group of tanks moved, when the aircraft looked down from the sky, it was a sea of smoke. The radar's heat reaction light spots were everywhere. Since it was useful at that time, how could Wang Wan not use it now? Even if the aircraft flew high and couldn't be smoked, the aircraft wouldn't be able to see the situation below clearly. Orders, the artillery troops will cover. 2nd Regiment will charge. I'm really convinced. After fighting for so long, it has become like this again. Zhao Hanzhong felt very sullen. Before coming, he had thought of countless battle tactics and strategies. In his mind, he could simulate how the other party would suffer and how great the losses would be. In the end, when they really met, what air and ground cooperation, what special forces attack, what mobile firepower net coverage, and so on, they couldn't be used. The other party dug a trench, released smoke, guarded the small hill, and the teams on both sides of the hill cooperated with each other. The only thing he could do was to advance with artillery fire, and the attacking team followed. 1st Regiment, attack the team on the left of the hill. 3rd Regiment, attack the team on the right. Don't get close. Be careful of the smoke. Zhao Hanzhong was qualified to be able to guess the other party's shameless methods. When the glider was smoked down, he considered whether the other party would use smoke to cover and fight hand-to-hand. Your Majesty, we should strengthen security measures. On the ground, using smoke to deal with air troops is too useful. Even if Shui Yun is sent here, she won't be able to make any useful judgments when she sees the smoke below. We can't let anyone spread this. Otherwise, when Cuckoo leads the army to war in the future, how many good men will the Tang Empire lose? Which child isn't born to their parents? Empress Wang saw the situation of the battle on the sand table in the center, and immediately realized the effect of smoke. Whether there was no wind or no wind, the attacking side couldn't expect the air troops to have much of an advantage unless they flew very high from the beginning. Although they could avoid the attack, they couldn't complete the reconnaissance mission. Li Longji's reaction wasn't as intense as Empress Wang's. He nodded and said, "Attack with smoke and throw spears against the wind. It's been like this since ancient times. Even if the secret isn't leaked, others can figure it out. It's Zhao Hanzhong's own stupidity. If he changed his position and Cuckoo attacked, he wouldn't be so restricted. I don't understand. Why do we have to attack? Can't we just go around it? There aren't many supplies on the hill. Can a hill of more than 100 meters be considered a high ground? What's the point of attacking it?" Empress Wang thought about it and retorted, "Your Majesty, that's 3 battalions. If we don't attack, why don't we just go around it and let them attack from behind? If we attack from behind, we have to go down the hill and gather. Otherwise, if we spread out, we'll be attacked one by one. A brigade will leave a regiment in front to interrupt the attack. The other 2 regiments will turn around and attack from behind under the cover of artillery fire. Did you see how Kong Lu charged through the layers of defense? Once we reach the flat ground, cold weapons are like steamed buns, meat buns that are specially used to feed dogs. With a single charge, 3 battalions will be wiped out. When fighting against Cuckoo, we can't fight according to conventional means. Look at Xiaobao's logisticians. They're built from the ground up. If you don't attack, I'll dig down and endure cannon fire time and time again. If you charge, I'll use the trenches to engage you in close combat. Rather than saying that they're native troops, it's better to say that they're the hot-blooded heroes of Great Tang. They're guarding a place and are willing to fight to the last man. With such an army, I don't want to send them out to invade. No matter how well they fight, there will definitely be casualties. My heart aches for them." Li Longji thought back to a certain day a year later when Xiaobao and Cuckoo gathered their troops and logisticians to go on an expedition to Duoduo. His mood instantly turned sour. He couldn't bear to send any Great Tang soldiers to their deaths. Zhizinchide had already experienced Wang Wan's viciousness. Even now, he still had a shadow in his heart. He felt sad for his men who died in the battle for Tubo, but he also felt proud of the soldiers that Wang Wan led. The troops that were initially scattered were reorganized by Wang Wan. After that, they were promised compensation in the name of the Zhang clan and Wang clan, and their fighting strength increased exponentially. Now that he thought about it, he should have just surrendered back then. At that time, fewer Great Tang soldiers would have died. Thus, when he heard Li Longji's words, he also felt sad. He persuaded, "Your Majesty, for the happiness of more people in Great Tang, we must fight. However, logisticians must follow up. For example, artillery fire. This subject admits that it is difficult to fight a civil engineering team." However, Cuckoo said that for the safety of a single Great Tang soldier, she is willing to throw down millions of artillery shells. This subject will issue a military order. If Cuckoo's team attacks, the logisticians will pass through this subject. This subject cannot allow the speed of transportation to double. This subject will carry the artillery shells myself. Otherwise, this subject will send my head to the capital. Everyone was moved by Zhizinchai's words. Only Wu Huifei had a different opinion. At the side she said, "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that Xiaobao won't let Great Tang's soldiers risk their lives. This subject remembers that Xiaobao and Cuckoo told Your Majesty that in the past year, they were training their soldiers and using other methods to weaken Duoduo. Back then, it was Your Majesty who gave the order to attack Tubo. They were developing well in Shuzhou, but you insisted that they organize the logisticians. In the end, they became the main force. Xiaobao spent most of his energy on organizing the logisticians. When they reached Tubo, he found the time to scheme against others. However, Xiaobao won't let you cause trouble now. He must have made preparations. Let's not talk about the past. We don't feel good about it either. Back then, we didn't do anything bad. We just wanted to give credit to Zhang family and Wang family. Who would have thought that when they reached Pengzhou, they would still advance despite knowing what was ahead? You're saying that Xiaobao wants to make the first move and cooperate with Cuckoo's army, so that Great Tang won't have to sacrifice as many soldiers? Every time Li Longji thought about what happened back then, he felt a lingering fear. However, it was also in that battle that Cuckoo showed her talent. Xiaobao strategized, and Xue Yun roared in the sky. Otherwise, who would have known their true abilities? As they were speaking, Zhang Xiaobao came over and heard the general idea. He said, "A real man doesn't talk about the embarrassment of the past. What we're talking about now is bragging and not mentioning a single word about being beaten and bullied. May I ask, are we allowed to use special weapons?" Chapter 1022. What weapon? The others asked in unison. Many diseases are contagious and people die. The process from contagion to death is relatively long. For example, it might take a few months to a year and a half. We natives have specially sampled a group of people like this. We also have some insects with diseases on them. We'll use them on the battlefield. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, Li Longji and the others shuddered from time to time. Before Zhang Xiaobao could finish, Li Longji interrupted him. "Xiaobao, it's too late for you to say this now. You didn't mention it in the beginning. I know your methods and they're ruthless. However, the purpose of the military examination is to let the generals understand Tang's army. Your infectious diseases and poisonous insects won't be of any help to Tang. Whether our enemies use these methods or not, we need military doctors. The medical academy is also researching ways to cure various diseases. Didn't you say that our medical academy will be able to solve the diseases immediately if you bring them out? If that's the case, they won't be of much help to Tang's army. Tang can't raise a group of sick people to attack other countries." Empress Wang nodded. Wu Huifei's eyes lit up. She liked to play tricks. After listening to Zhang Xiaobao and the emperor, she interjected. "Little treasure, are you saying that we can let the medical school's people advance with the army and capture other people for research? It's just like the medical team that Lu Zhou sent out to treat the people on the other islands. However, the medical personnel on the island didn't deliberately use poison. During the treatment process, they lacked protective measures. Even if it's a minor illness, they can still perform major surgery." Zhang Xiaobao nodded with a determined gaze. He knew how cruel it was to do it, but he still had to do it. "Is there a specific way to cure the injuries?" Chida asked. He wanted to say that it was against the harmony of heaven, but he changed his words in the end. Zhang Xiaobao understood what he meant. He replied, "Yes, it's against the harmony of heaven, but there's a way. There's not much difference between a doctor and an assassin. For example, Cuckoo and I, we feel that we've earned every extra day we live. We don't care about the heavenly punishment. Using others to study the laws and treatment methods of diseases can be used on the people of the Great Tang. I brought up this matter today so that your majesty and the others can be mentally prepared. Many years later, you might be cursed incessantly. How can we care about what will happen many years later? Many years later, when the common people of the Great Tang learn of what we have done for them, I believe that we will be passed down as a deity who protects their safety and health. Ha! And you and Cuckoo, don't keep looking at the sand table. If you don't like it, I'll kick you out." When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he didn't even think about it, and said indifferently. Zhang Xiaobao retracted his gaze from the sand table. Actually, he couldn't see anything. The sand table was so big, and the model was so small. If he didn't get close, he could only see a pile of things. "I didn't. It's just a habit. In truth, it's nothing much. In the future, when the Great Tang develops well, we can just give the countries that were bullied some money, and many people will forget what happened back then. Compared to the Great Tang, they will realize that their lives are too poor to be able to use the good products of the Great Tang, travel to the Great Tang, or even immigrate to the Great Tang. To them, this is the life of a deity. Give them some benefits and use the economy to plunder them. Let alone those people who have no direct relationship with them. Even those related to their ancestors. They will forget." "Xiaobao, don't get agitated. What's wrong with you? That time when you took the imperial examination, you vomited blood because of something. Doctor of medicine, come over here." When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he realized that Zhang Xiaobao's face was even redder than before. When he heard the content of the conversation, he felt that Xiaobao was feeling uncomfortable. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly waved his hands. "It's nothing. I can't vomit blood this time. I'll always vomit. Right now Cuckoo and I are bullying others. Haha, thank the heavens. This is why we have to do more things that go against the heavens. Actually, I just thought of something. Don't touch me. I already said that I'm fine. Zhang Xiaobao had many things that he couldn't tell others. The only person he could confide in was Wang Wan. After comforting himself, he recovered his emotions and shook off the doctor's hand that came over to take his pulse. The doctor was very dedicated. Even if he couldn't take Zhang Xiaobao's pulse, he didn't force him. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao, looking at his complexion and breathing rhythm. He didn't dare to be negligent. If something really happened to Zhang Xiaobao, the emperor wouldn't need to do anything. The emperor would just throw him out on the streets and say that he didn't do his best. In this short period of time, Wang Wan had already heard the news. She hurriedly ran over and looked at Zhang Xiaobao asking, "Who provoked you again?" "No one. They said that the military doctors followed the army to fight. In addition to treating their own people, they also used other people to study the virus. As they talked, I became happy and thought of a new weapon." Zhang Xiaobao reached out and pulled Wang Wan to sit on his lap as he explained. Wang Wan didn't break free. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she understood what the other party thought of. She followed up, "You thought of a biological weapon? It's more difficult to collect poisonous gas than oxygen. It's not easy to take protective measures, but we can use incendiary bombs. Good idea. Let people study it as soon as possible. When we go to war, we can destroy all the trenches and bunkers. If they're really benevolent and righteous, how can they fight a war? You came over just to talk about this? You're so free that you're chatting with people instead of commanding. Let's see what you're going to do if you can't complete your tactical objectives. Let Dr. Ho feel your pulse." Wang Wan took Zhang Xiaobao's hand and handed it to the doctor surnamed Ho. She knew that he had reached the position of doctor. It was impossible not to pay attention to him. When they wanted to establish the Tang Academy of Sciences, they had to get him in. The doctor first felt Zhang Xiaobao's left hand, then his right hand. After feeling it, he said to everyone, "It's nothing. It seems that he was a little tired yesterday, or in the last few hours. There's no need to get medicine. When it's time to eat, it's fine to have more meat." The doctor said it calmly. Wang Wan blushed and jumped down from Zhang Xiaobao's lap. She pulled a chair and sat there without saying anything. Zhang Xiaobao asked in surprise, "You can even tell? Isn't it too fake?" "How is it fake? Look at your pulse. Stop talking. You're amazing. I'll eat crabs for dinner." Zhang Xiaobao didn't let the doctor continue. "Crabs won't do. It's cold. Besides, it's spring. Where are you going to find crabs? The crabs that were frozen last autumn don't taste good. If you want to eat seafood, you can eat sea fish or mutton. If there are cows, you can eat beef. Ordinary people can't eat it. You won't be lacking in beef." The doctor still had a serious look on his face as he discussed with Zhang Xiaobao about food and nutrition. Zhu Zan reminded him kindly, "Xiaobao, when Madame and I came over, we brought the yaks from our place. They're still alive. Along the way, they lost weight. Many of them died. We sold them to the restaurants that pass by. After we arrived in the capital, we've raised them for a few days. They should be fine. Let me tell you, those yaks. Let's talk about the main thing. I know that your yaks are good. I believe that Xiaobao's body is also very good. Xiaobao, cuckoo. How do you use the biological weapons and incendiary bombs that you mentioned?" Li Longji saw that the topic had changed and quickly corrected it. He was very interested in war weapons. He was always afraid that others would use advanced weapons to attack the Tang Empire. He felt that with every step forward in the research of weapons, the gap between the Tang Empire and the Tang Empire would shrink. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to explain the functions and effects of the two weapons. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't as professional as Wang Wan. Wang Wan had a very thorough understanding of the weapons. As she explained the functions, she also explained the tactical coordination around the weapons. Zhang Xiaobao mainly explained the reaction of the human body after being hit by the weapons. For example, the incendiary bombs. They burned for a long time and covered a large area. During the burning process, they produced poisonous gas and caused a lack of oxygen to the shallow underground fortifications. Hearing this, Li Longji and the others broke out in cold sweat. Qi de Zuzan was also glad that his Tufan didn't persist. Xiao Bao, according to what you said, there isn't an army in the world that can defeat a team with such weapons. Hurry up and research it. Li Longji wiped his sweat and said excitedly. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shook their heads at the same time and said together, no, there is an army that can contend against them. What army? Li Longji asked in disbelief. Our Tang Empire's army can do it. Perhaps the number of casualties will be several times more, but the enemy will definitely not retreat. Even if someone can blow up the mountain that our Tang Empire occupies and think that it is a land of death, if he dares to attack, he will still have to suffer a fierce counterattack. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan and said to Li Longji with a smile. Wang Wan replied with an affirmative smile. Yes, our Tang Empire's army can do it. Even if we have to sacrifice several times more lives, in the end, what we are fighting for is not only the weapon, but also the soul of an entire nation. On the battlefield, what we display is the soul of an army. When 10 lives are exchanged for one of the enemies, what we are testing is the other party's will. The more advanced the weapon is, the more people cherish their lives. Some people fight for wealth, while others fight for glory. I am most afraid of encountering enemies who fight for survival. Thus, I have always requested that the soldiers of the Tang Empire have 2 things. First, they must learn knowledge so that they can immediately take over the position of the commander after his death. Even if they are alone, they must be clear of the strategy and tactics of the team. Second, they must have family members. It would be best if they have a few brothers with a wife and children. This kind of team is the strongest. In front of them is the enemy, but behind them is their family. So they must use their lives to exchange for the enemy? Princess Jincheng asked. Yes, use their lives to exchange for the enemy until they tremble. Even if blood flows like a river, they must not retreat. If the soldiers of a country are afraid of death and turn around to flee or surrender when they see the enemy's ferocious attack, then that country deserves to be bullied. Zhang Xiaobao said. He thought of many small countries that were bullied. Basically, when the enemy's attack was a little fierce, they would be scared to death. They would invest tens of thousands of soldiers to defend the place, and hundreds of them would die. In the end, in 2 to 3 days, the place would be taken down by the enemy. If they were afraid of death, who could they blame? Sometimes, Zhang Xiaobao would think, and he had also discussed it with Wang Wan. If it was their national army, how could an army of tens of thousands be taken down in 2 to 3 days? They could just throw an atomic bomb. Otherwise, how big of a price would the enemy have to pay? Zhu Qida was unhappy. He thought that Zhang Xiaobao was talking about him. However, his men were not afraid of death. The main thing was that they lacked a good commander. Therefore he said, Xiaobao, there are times when human strength is not enough, right? Ah. Oh. Zhang Xiaobao understood. I'm not talking about you. We are fighting because of internal conflicts. We are a family, just like brothers sometimes fight. When Cuckoo and I go to war, you still have to help take care of the logistics. We can rest assured. Li Longji also said, if I'm not talking about you, are we enemies? My sister is married to you. I'm talking about the enemy of the great Tang without a princess. Yes, that's what I meant. I'm just asking. What else could Zhu Qida say? Xiaobao, let's go back. They are still fighting. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao was fine, and was concerned about the situation of the battle. Let's go back. I wanted to use other methods, but they didn't agree. Zhang Xiaobao stood up and pulled Wang Wan out. Li Longji and the others watched the 2 of them leave. They gathered together to discuss the matter that the 2 of them had just mentioned. The battle was still going on. Zhao Hanzhong was facing the same problem as Yang Chang. There were a total of 3 camps on the 100-meter high ground. There was one on the top of the mountain, and one at the bottom of the mountain. With only 3 regiments, they were unable to charge over. After the cannon fire, they charged. Surprisingly, the enemy could still counterattack, and it was very fierce. However, Zhao Hanzhong already knew what was going on. There was a problem with the fortifications and the direction of the wind. The wind blew against them. Regardless of whether the enemy was on the mountain or on the plains, they had fortifications. When the cannon fire landed, some of the fortifications were destroyed, while others were still standing. Furthermore, There was another layer of fortifications under the fortifications. The enemy's scarecrows were very effective. When the cannon fire hit them, the scarecrows were set ablaze. When his troops charged, other than the smoke from the cannon fire, there was also smoke from the scarecrows. If they charged too slowly, the effect of the cannon fire would be weakened. Moreover, if they were too far away, the smoke would be very uncomfortable. But if they charged too quickly, they would be in close contact with the enemy. They felt that the most shameless method of the other party was to not run when they countercharged. Instead, they would lie on the ground and quickly crawl and roll horizontally to change positions to advance. This was too demanding of their own marksmanship. There was already smoke, and they still had to hit the ground. The enemy would roll and advance without any pattern. They could only rely on confusion. When they came into contact with the enemy, it would be a bayonet against a broadsword or a spear. This was no joke. Yes, if they crawled forward, they would be less affected by the smoke. The natives are becoming more and more difficult to deal with. Zhao Hanzhong scratched his head in front of the sand table. Of course, he was just saying this out of anger. He didn't believe that the natives were so smart. Reporting, our troops attacking the mountain have been shot down again. The enemy used rolling logs. The messenger reported to Zhao Hanzhong. Rolling logs? Are there any nails on the logs? Zhao Hanzhong asked. Reporting, no, there are no nails. However, there are streaks in the middle of the logs. There are things that cause smoke. Wherever the logs roll, there is smoke. The messenger replied. Zhao Hanzhong nodded. Understood. When he looked at the sand table again, he suddenly slapped his head and said to himself, why was I so stupid? So what if I shot down the mountain? I'm not even defending. There are still troops behind me. Can't I just charge over? What can they do to me? Men, pass down my order. Gather 3 regiments of troops and advance with the cannon fire. Charge directly from the north of Highland 113. How can 3 regiments not be able to deal with your battalion? Zhao Hanzhong finally understood and gave the order. Chapter 1023. Once Zhao Hanzhong changed his strategy, the results were immediately apparent. Of the 3 battalions of the 3rd Regiment, 1 battalion was directly facing Zhao Hanzhong's charge, while the other 2 battalions were on the other side of the hill. The battalions on the hill were hit by a wave of cannon fire, and were forced to retreat into their fortifications. When they reappeared, Zhao Hanzhong's troops had already left the range of the hill. The other battalion had been waiting to engage in positional warfare. When they saw the enemy retreat, they waited for the next wave of attacks. However, after waiting for a while, they did not see the enemy attack again. Only the rumbling of cannons could be heard. For a moment, they did not know what was going on. This bastard has learned to be smart. Motherf *, they're all coming for me? I think there are at least 3 regiments. Is there a need to use cannon fire to advance? Order all the troops to hide. After the cannon fire, retreat immediately. We're not going to fight anymore. Go up the hill and meet up with the 1st Battalion. Sun Quan looked at the sand table and cursed as he gave the order. His battalion was facing the charge of Zhao Hanzhong's 3 regiments. When he retreated to the hill and met up with the 1st Battalion, there were only about 160 people left out of the original 500. He also went to the room of the 1st Battalion's commander and stared at him speechlessly. Brother, this battle is not going to be easy. The tiger finally knows how to climb a tree. 3 regiments against 1 battalion, and I've been judged to be injured. Sun Quan said to the commander and regiment commander of the 1st Battalion, Fan Zhu. Fan Zhu nodded. My troops can't do anything. The range of the long-range weapons is not enough when we're on high ground. If I bring people down, we'll be facing a rain of bullets. Then he relaxed his eyebrows and said, but it's not a big deal. Let's see how many people the 3rd Battalion can come back. Their losses are not as great as yours. If we gather our troops again, we should have at least 600 to 700 people. My losses are not small either. Cannons, after all, they are cannons. They don't have 3 full regiments now. We've lost at least 500 to 600 people. Our losses are slightly higher. Once we reorganize our troops and continue to defend here, there will be more troops behind them. That's the only way. Did you send the news? Sun Quan did not insist on beating the enemy into a pulp. The enemy's guns and cannons were not for decoration. Yes, Fanju replied. The 3 battalions of the 3rd Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 3rd Division began to regroup. The 3 leaders did not follow behind Zhao Hanzhong's troops. That would be no different from courting death. They were not worried that the enemy would turn around and attack from the other side of the hill, to seize the high ground. At this moment, Zhao Hanzhong was also not very happy. He had made a mistake in commanding the troops in the previous battle. Instead of losing 500 or 600 men, they had lost more than 1,000 men. According to the data given by the referees, 460 people had died in battle, while the rest had died from the smoke, and had lost their ability to fight due to the smoke. In total, there were more than 1,000 people. As for those who felt uncomfortable due to the smoke, their accuracy and reaction speed were affected as well. He had also lost hundreds of guns, as well as some ammunition. He wasn't sure if it would affect him in any way. After all, his opponents weren't really natives. After losing 20% of his troops, Zhao Hanzhong felt that the road ahead would not be too smooth. He looked at the sand table and found that there was a depression in front of him. Looking around, there was a high ground with a height of 225 meters. Looking at the other side, there was nothing on the other side. The terrain was flat, so he had sent out scouts to scout ahead. If they were not attacked, then they would just leave from the other side. Obviously, they would not come into contact with the enemy. Scout ahead. The first group will advance slowly. The second group will spread out and guard the surroundings. The third group will rest here. Zhao Hanzhong gave the order and began to wait for feedback. Half an hour later, the scouts had advanced for 15 li. They came back and reported that they were not attacked along the way. All troops move out. Zhao Hanzhong composed himself and gave the order to advance. The troops did not advance quickly. As for the scouts, they constantly came into contact with the enemy. Some died in battle, while others sent back information. Zhao Hanzhong did not hear any reports of enemy attacks or ambushes for a long time. Instead, he felt uneasy and felt that something was wrong. Is this still Wang Wan's main force? Why didn't they surround me when I came in? Why didn't they stop me? Why didn't they harass me? Have the commanders of the Zhang family and Wang family suddenly become stupid? Can't their scouts keep up? Then they should have heard the sound of cannon fire. I don't believe that they can't analyze it. Zhao Hanzhong mumbled, his heart feeling more and more uneasy. When Zhao Hanzhong passed, the commander of the 3 RD Division's 1st Brigade's 1st Regiment, Lu Dong, was also looking at the sand table. It was not that he did not want to make a move. He wanted to stop the enemy or chase after them, but he could not move. He was guarding the depression and had already arranged everything. If he moved, he would expose himself, and all the original arrangements would be disrupted. For the sake of the enemy's vanguard, such a choice was not worth it. Therefore, he was waiting for the enemy's vanguard to crash into the wall. If the enemy's main force came up, he believed that his allies at the 225 Highland would close the door. His own regiment had 2 plans. One was to cooperate with the 225 Highland and block the enemy's vanguard from retreating. The other was to snipe the enemy's main force. The worst-case scenario would naturally be being attacked from the front and back. Then he would accept it and try his best to exhaust the enemy's ammunition. The commanders of the 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions of the 4th Division at the 225 Highland also knew that the enemy's vanguard had entered, but they did not attack. They seized the time to repair the fortifications. The commander of the 3rd Independent Battalion, Lu Zhu, ordered his men to repair the fortifications. When he found the 4th Independent Battalion's headquarters, he said to his colleague Lu Yun, "One of you go there." "You saw it. Do you want to fight?" Lu Yun asked. Lu Zhu waved his hand. "No, I'll wait for him to go there. I'll discuss it with you. The place he went is right under our noses. There's another regiment to cooperate with us. We're an independent battalion. I know. Our numbers are only slightly less than a regular regiment, and our weapons and equipment are better. But we're a logistics battalion. An independent logistics battalion is well prepared. And that's reflected in transportation and construction. Lu Yan did not understand what he meant. Lu Zhu walked to the sand table and pointed at the path Xiao Hanzhong took. Look, he went there. Another half a day's journey is the 737 Highland. He can't go around there even if he wants to. He only has 4,000 men. I think he was beaten up by our army in front. If he doesn't attack with 4,000 men, and they surround him for 3 days, his supplies won't be able to keep up. If he attacks, his ammunition will probably be used up a lot. If he sets up camp here and doesn't move, he will be facing 2 brigades, 2 regiments, and a reserve brigade, which is more than 4 times his current military strength, almost 5 times. Do you think the people of Highland 737 will let him go? Lu Yan looked at the sand table and understood as he listened. They won't. If the enemy really dares to set up camp, the 737 Highland will organize a night battle with scarecrows and use smoke to cover the attack. They'll use the tactic of injuring 1,000 of the enemy and sacrificing 800 of their own to force the enemy to attack or retreat. They'll also defend and wait for reinforcements. Then while talking, LV Yin considered. Suddenly his eyes brightened. He patted Lu Zhu's shoulder happily and said, "Yes, that's right. We can't let him retreat easily, and we can't let him wait for the reinforcements. Let's go down. We don't have to stay on the mountain anymore." That's right. We're an independent battalion. The Logistics Independent Battalion has a lot of equipment. Let's quickly fix it and tell the 3rd Division, the 1st Brigade and the 1st Regiment our plan. Let them cooperate. Tell him that he doesn't have to worry about being attacked from 2 sides. We'll block the enemy's retreat. If he dares to rush in, he won't be able to return. Lu Zhu said with a smile. After waiting for the enemy to pass, the 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions of the 4th Division rushed down and began to build fortifications on the flat road. Lu Dong, who was guarding the depression, was still giving orders to arrange his own area more carefully when a messenger ran in. Reporting, the 225 Highland, the 4th Division, the 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions are here to report. Let us hold our position and leave the enemy's retreat path to them. Good, I told you. We can't let them pass easily. They dare to go around the road. Do they think they're fighting a flat Yuanzhan? Do they think that our hinterland is empty? The main force of 60,000 hasn't moved yet. If we rush in with 4,000 people, we'll tire you to death. Lu Dong laughed and knew what to do. Order my regiment to continue to fight. Dig fortifications. Give me as many scarecrows as possible. Horizontally, dig trenches as wide as a breadth. Ask for support from our friendly troops. Help us dig trenches. Don't dig too deep. 1 person's height is enough. On the opposite side of the trenches, dig a slanted hole. Hide people inside and wait for the enemy to push the cannon cart over the hole. Rush out and kill them or wait for the enemy to fall into the hole. Insert a scarecrow every 3 meters in the trenches. Only a little bit of the head with a hat is exposed. Stagger the position of the holes. The distance between the trenches is 50 meters. Within 50 meters, place them irregularly. After Lu Dong finished giving orders, his whole body relaxed. He didn't expect to be able to defeat the enemy. As long as he could consume more of the enemy's ammunition, it would be fine. When the guns and cannons ran out of ammunition, it was better to use fire sticks. The fire sticks could be made longer, but the bayonets on the guns were only that long. Moreover, bullets weren't too terrible. The speed was fast, but they had to hit the target. There weren't so many machine guns. If they used rifles, wouldn't I be able to dodge? If I suddenly lay down, roll and get up again, walk around the zigzag route, and lay down again, could it be that they were all sharpshooters? Lu Dong's request was sent out by the scouts. Soon he received a response. The 3rd Regiment of the 2nd Brigade of the 4th Division, which took the initiative to attack, came. It was arranged by Zhang Xiaobao to quickly charge forward in groups, every 300 meters, to expose the enemy's position. The regiment commander, Su Gu, also wanted to follow the order. But before he could move, the enemy's vanguard came in first. He thought about it. If he still followed the young master's order and rushed in, he would definitely be scolded by the young master. Su Gu could think of the scolding words. Are you stupid? You just entered when I told you to. Don't you know how to observe the situation? You're the regiment commander, not the group commander. Don't you have a brain? I've arranged everything. Do I still need you? You can just find an obedient dog. So Sugu made his own judgment. He didn't rush forward. He gathered the troops of a regiment and walked quietly along the edge of the ambush. He collected the things to start the fire. He planned to take advantage of the enemy's vanguard to go to the front and throw the things to the ground before the enemy's middle army came. He planned to let the enemy's middle army make a choice. Either you ignite the things yourself and then be blocked by the fire and can't come over, leaving your vanguard isolated and helpless, or you go directly, and I will ignite the fire and burn you all together. Just as they moved to the depression, each soldier carried a large bundle of firewood, wooden sticks, hay, and dried grass. When the time came, they would be able to burn it, and it would even emit smoke. Before he could continue to move forward, he received a request from Lu Dong of the 1st Brigade of the 3rd Division. He considered which side was more important and finally decided to help. Sugu? Why are you here? Lu Dong was surprised to see Sugu. Didn't you sacrifice yourself? You sacrificed yourself? Did you give me the time to sacrifice myself? You see how fast the enemy's vanguard is. They almost met me. More than 20 of my scouts were killed by their scouts. I avoided them and took a detour. Why are you looking for me? I brought a lot of firewood. I plan to go to the front to cook for the enemy. Do you need it? There are 1,500 bundles, all big bundles. It's enough for a family of 10 to burn the stove for 10 years. Sugu and the other 3 people stood in Lu Dong's room. In addition to him, there were 3 battalion commanders. He had his own personal guards, and the number of people was not small. As for the commander of the team, he was not assigned to him for the time being. Unless he wanted to play an independent and important tactic, he would not be assigned to his subordinates. The battalion was enough. If he chose to rush in as a unit, then there would naturally be other people from the outer court to cooperate with him and be the commander of the team. Lu Dong, on the other hand, was more concerned about the firewood. He asked, "That much? Well, if one person carries a bundle, it will be like a mountain. I don't need it here for the time being, eh?" "What's wrong?" Sugu heard Lu Dong's sudden voice ask. "I don't need it. In the front, they caused the enemy's vanguard to lose more than 1,000 people. I think they themselves are not having a good time. I saw that the enemy's vanguard was a brigade, but it only had 4,000 people. Needless to say, those 1,000 people were killed by the enemy's vanguard. Their fortifications should have been badly beaten. You send the firewood to them and let them make big buns. When the time comes to ignite them, they will roll down. It's also a good thing. They must still be resting." Lu Dong thought of the previous regiment and admired it. That regiment had a total of 1,500 people. In the end, they consumed more than 1,000 people in the enemy's vanguard by relying on a hill without any height advantage. This was not a matter of playing with one's life. If you want to play with your life, the enemy will give you a chance. This was a test of command. If the enemy lost more than 1,000 people, the loss would not be small, unless the weapons were changed. Sugu pondered for a moment and replied, "Okay, then let's go together. Our 2 regiments will send the things to them, and then repair the fortifications. If the enemy attacks while we are repairing, we will fight together in the 1133 Highlands. If we finish repairing and still don't attack, I will leave a battalion to them, and they will come back and continue to repair here. Then I'll give them a battalion as well. They'll be at the very front. If they can come back and repair this place, you can move your remaining 2 battalions to the front and place them between me and Highland 113 for mobility." Lu Dong also agreed. So the 2 people slowly walked to the room where Sun Quan and Fanju were. Sugu's personal guard stayed behind and continued to work. Sun Quan and Fanju still had one more person, the commander of the 3rd Battalion, Wang Nan. Wang Nan was also injured by the referee. Wang Nan was very angry. Why did he have to be injured? When he commanded, his energy was affected. He commanded for an hour, and then had to rest for an hour. Wasn't this cheating? At the critical moment, he had to rest for an hour, and when he got up, the battle would be over. The 3 people were together thinking about how to deal with the enemy's main force. When they thought of the overwhelming artillery, the three people felt a headache. If you give me an artillery battalion, I want to see which one of their main forces dares to open fire first. I will destroy the artillery position. Isn't it just bullying us because we don't have artillery? Wang Nan complained, his hand touching his head from time to time. The messenger said that his head was injured by shrapnel, and there was a big cut. He always felt uncomfortable in his head. Okay, we are just fighting cold weapons against hot weapons. If it is hot weapons against hot weapons, will the Imperial Court's generals dare to come and fight with us? Cuckoo directly passed the military selection and became the top scorer. Since we are playing this game, we can't lose face for the main family, right? Sun Quan explained. When he spoke, he faintly revealed a trace of pride, which meant that he had the ability to fight an asymmetrical war with them and force them to not have the slightest advantage. Fan Zhu also said, "That's right. If we really used hot weapons against hot weapons, I could have left his entire regiment on the mountain. But since we have chosen this road, we have to go down it. I think that after the battle, we, the people on the periphery, will be allowed to enter the inner courtyard. The main family doesn't only look at combat ability. If your ability is not good, you can be trained. If you really can't, you can also be arranged to do other things. The main family has always emphasized that there is no bad inner courtyard, only unsuitable positions. What the main family really looks at is our spirit and breadth of mind, as well as the choice between life and death and brotherhood. If the main family is satisfied, we can enter the inner courtyard and be like Xiaobei and the others. We are them." The other two nodded. They thought of the education that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had given Xiaobei's 9 younger brothers and sisters. Their philosophy was that there were no stupid children, only unsuitable education. If that's the case, we will work harder and work in the inner courtyard in the future. I have to change my surname. Should it be Zhang or Wang? Or continue to be Sun? Sun Quan began to think about what to do with his surname. He felt that he had done well by cooperating with the 2 battalions and defeating more than 500 of the enemy's people, while losing more than 800 people. He could enter the inner courtyard. Let's not think about that for now. I am just thinking about how to defend when the enemy's main force comes. If someone can give me some support, I will be satisfied even if it is a large group or a small group. Fan Zhu felt that the manpower was not enough. Although it was said that he could be sacrificed, he felt uncomfortable in his heart. I don't have a large group or a small group. I can give you a battalion and more than 1,500 bundles of firewood. At this time, Sugu appeared at the door of the 3 people's room and said seriously, "Ha Sugu, I asked you to rush to the front. Where are you hiding? You have a group. Come in and have a seat. Are you here to visit with a group? Ha. And Lu Regiment Commander, you are not guarding the low-lying land at the back. You also formed a group to travel?" When Fan Zhu saw the 2 people, he was very happy. He didn't believe that the 2 people would come empty-handed, so he quickly moved a chair. Wang Nan and Sun Quan also got up to greet them and hugged Su Gu. The other party came at the right time. They were good brothers. Su Gu and Sun Quan sat down, and Lu Dong took a bowl of water. There was no tea on the battlefield. He took a sip and said, "I need people to help me repair the fortifications," so Su Gu came and hid beside me. "What kind of person do you think he is? He is too careless. If he came earlier, I would have dared to fight the enemy's vanguard. In the end, when the enemy went over, and he even encountered them, he hid and ran away, and many of his scouts were killed by the enemy. Both of us calculated that the enemy's vanguard was definitely a brigade. There were only about 4,000 people left, and you actually left behind more than 1,000. Your losses were definitely not small. So I sent you soldiers. Su Gu and I each took out a battalion for you to fight. We will help you repair the fortifications first. Later, we will continue to defend there. When your whole army is dead, we will become the front." 1,000? So many? We estimated that it was 500, at most 600. Fan Zhu and I thought that we would suffer a little loss. The loss was 800 against 500. How can it be 1,000? Sun Quan was happy and surprised at the same time. Su Gu said with certainty, It is indeed less than 1,000 people. In addition to the dead scouts, there are some who came back alive. The enemy also did not take advantage of us. The place we passed by is full of weeds. Pistols may not be more effective than throwing knives. We natives also have blow darts. If you shoot, the sound will spread very far. The enemy's scouts nearby will not deal with you. My regiment did not dare to go over, and their main force also did not dare to come over. It was just a battle of scouts. As a result, our scouts reported that the enemy had more than 4,000 people. How could we dare to fight? We ran and encountered Commander Liu. This time, the other 3 people were happy. 800 against 1,000, they made a profit. This was also because the enemy was smart. At the last moment, they did not want to scatter and annihilate them. Instead, they passed through. Otherwise, they could have left behind another 1,000 people. The 5 people chatted for a while, mainly to exchange information and analysis. They began to organize people to build the fortifications. There were more people now. 2 regiments came to help, and the construction progress was very fast. When the construction was almost done, the enemy still did not come. Su Gu and Lu Dong each left a battalion and rushed back with the fastest speed. They still had fortifications to build. On the way back, Su Gu said to Lu Dong, "I will not give you my 2 battalions. I will give you my personal guards. Because I had to rush to the front and attract the enemy's firepower, I had a special personal guards. The main force was allocated to me, a total of 300 people. You stay and use them well. They are not worse than a normal logistics battalion. Anyway, I am a person who will be sacrificed, so I will run back and forth in the middle. I estimate that we can't withstand the enemy's main force attack. I will go first. See you later. Well, wait for me." Not to mention the sand table. Even if it is real, once I die, the main family will help to raise my children. Let's go. Lu Dong was not pretentious. In the center of the sand table, everyone was looking at the progress of the war. Yang Chong and Li Ji were happy for Zhao Hanzhong's choice. He was finally not like them, who foolishly fought the enemy and immediately changed tactics when they found the situation was not right. At the same time, they were worried for Zhao Hanzhong. His opponent was too difficult to deal with. What was difficult was not only the opponent's combat level, but also the friendship between the opponents. The army, it was the army. How could they easily give it to others? In the Tang army, there had never been such a case where colleagues took the initiative to give the army away without the orders of the higher-ups. Only with soldiers in hand would one have more authority. But looking at the other party, they were not thinking about their own authority, but the interests of the whole. When the first 3 Highlands team was defeated, the people at the back immediately thought that the brothers at the front needed more manpower, so they sent them over. In history, how many generals who fought for themselves did not go to their allies? How many times did they watch the fire burning across the river? How many times did they gloat? How many times did they stand by and do nothing? How many times did they add insult to injury? But the people of the Zhang family and Wang family did not. They took the initiative to send the soldiers and supplies, and even helped to repair the fortifications. If Zhao Hanzhong sent a report to Zhang Shogui would definitely misjudge the situation. He thought that there were not many people left in the highlands, and that the fortifications were almost destroyed. Then, based on this judgment, what would the consequences be if he directly rushed up? The other side's regiment was already overstaffed. If he dared to attack or charge, he would be a fool in a single confrontation. It's over, it's over, it's over. General Zhang, you must not be careless. You must know that sometimes the information is wrong. Li Ji muttered and began to pray. Yang Chong also frowned. He was worried for the main force and for Zhao Hanzhong. Li Longji's expression was indifferent. He knew that the generals of the Tang Empire might not be able to do things that would make the army happy. However, there was no need to doubt the Zhang family and Wang family. Their requirement for the inner courtyard was to be united. If Su Gu and Lu Dong did not make such a choice, they would not be able to enter the inner courtyard. Husband, look, aren't they very good? Princess Jincheng said to Zhu Zan. She wanted to praise Su Gu and the others. Zhu Zan took a deep breath and replied, "It's not good, it's strong. How can they disregard life and death, and make several choices in the secular world. Husband, then do you think Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can win? Princess Jincheng liked to hear people praise Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan the most. That will depend on how the generals choose. If I were them, I wouldn't completely rely on the radio station. If this thing isn't used well, many people will die. They have to imagine themselves as the weak and then fight. Otherwise, they will realize that they definitely can't be considered strong. Zhu Zan's eyes were fixed on Zhao Hanzhong and the deployment of Zhang Xiaobao's logistics army. He was worried for Zhao Hanzhong. He estimated that Zhao Hanzhong would not be able to come out. There were too few people, and too much ammunition was consumed in the early stages. If he was really eaten, the blow to the entire army would be too big. Princess Jincheng was still happy. Suddenly, she pointed at the sand table and said, Zhang Shougui's army is about to meet. Chapter 1024. Zhang Shougui truly was approaching Plateau 1313. He had first received a report from Zhao Hanzhong, saying that Plateau 1313 had already been broken through, and that there weren't many soldiers left. When the main force arrived, they would be able to push through. At the same time, he had also received news that Zhao Hanzhong had discovered people on Plateau 225 from his position, and that there was also an ambush in the nearby low-lying areas. In addition, he had engaged in a scout battle with an unknown number, but the enemy had already left. He had also given a guarantee that he would be like a sharp knife, firmly thrust into the enemy's heart, so that no matter what the enemy did, it would be impossible for them to succeed. When he first received this news, Zhang Shougui had been happy for a few moments, thinking that victory was at hand. Just as he was planning to quickly advance, he suddenly hesitated. Measure wind direction and speed. Glider team, take off and scout Plateau 1313. Zhang Shougui resisted the urge to give the order to advance, instead having the troops slow down and the scouts move out. The messenger quickly returned, reporting, the fortifications on Plateau 1313 are in disarray, most of them destroyed. From the air, we can faintly see wounded lying on the ground, groaning. When my scouts flew over, they were not attacked. Over. Zhang Shougui softly cursed at Zhao Hanzhong. So close. Zhao Hanzhong, you tricked me to death. Turning his head to the officers in the room, he asked, did you see anything? My guess is that the other side should have some means to counterattack. Therefore, they first pretended to be weak and waited for our army to rush up and catch us off guard. According to General Zhao's information, the other side should have a battalion or 1.5 battalions of soldiers at the top of the mountain. However, the number of wounded soldiers is less than 100, so the rest are definitely lying in ambush. Our army should be opening up a path with cannons and taking Plateau 1313 in one go. This is called beating them at their own game. A general voiced his analysis and waited for Zhang Shougui's approval. But Zhang Shougui didn't look him in the eye. Beat my ass. Do you think the enemy's commanders are idiots? They just suffered a round of attacks, so how could they not understand the power of cannons? If they dare to set up such a formation, they probably aren't really weak, but they have an even bigger backup plan. If our army is charging straight up and the enemy really does have a backup plan, then tell me, how are we going to calculate our losses? The general who had spoken just now did not say anything, but he was unwilling to accept it. Since they did not know, why did they say that his idea was wrong? Zhang Shougui continued. I was worried that this was a trap. Zhao Hanzhong truly charged too quickly. He didn't clear out the soldiers along the way, so he believed that with his advanced weapons he wanted to charge straight into the enemy's main force and determine which army they belonged to. If the other party was Wang Wan's main force, would he be able to gain any advantage by rushing over? If it wasn't, I would have risked my life to keep his brigade. That's not good. At this point, Zhang Shougui shivered and said to the messenger, send a report to General Zhao at the vanguard. Order him to quickly retreat and join up with our army. There is no time to be lost. Our army is to set up camp and guard the surroundings. Do not move recklessly. Zhang Shougui's army of more than 10,000 immediately began to set up camp, and various defensive fortifications were set up. The officers carried out Zhang Shougui's orders, and this time, no one objected. This was because they recalled something. Yang Chang's 1st Brigade had charged too quickly in the Fuyang region. They didn't even set up camp before they launched an assault on the enemy. The result was that the enemy had managed to withstand cannon fire after cannon fire, and in the end, they had successfully ambushed and surrounded the enemy. Even now, it was still unknown if anyone from that brigade had survived. My opponent is the outstanding commander of the military academies of the Zhang family and Wang family. Outstanding, very outstanding. Normally, if I can think of something, they can definitely think of it as well. If worst comes to worst, I can just advance step by step. Zhang Shogui had once more emphasized who his opponent was. At this crucial moment, he had actually changed his disposition as a commander, no longer constantly searching for opportunistic opportunities to inflict massive damage on the enemy. He had begun to walk a steady path. Afraid, truly afraid that if he were to advance too rashly, he would be schemed against. When the time came, his soldiers would be gone, and so would his position. The middle army would easily be burdened to death by him. Zhao Hanzhong wasn't slow to receive the telegram. However, the speed at which he was leading his 4,000 men was also extremely fast. By the time they were still 2 hours away from Highland 737, the scouts of both sides had first come into contact with each other. When they received the telegram from the rear, they were just about to heed the order to retreat and kill off the enemy in the depression when a messenger ran in. Reporting, our remaining 10 gliders have been shot down by the enemy using crossbows. One person managed to survive, but he was heavily injured. Reporting back, 2 enemy regiments have appeared behind us and to our left. They are advancing extremely quickly and will soon cut off our path of retreat. Reporting, the enemy has appeared behind us and is advancing extremely quickly. The majority of our scouts have been shot down by the enemy. The returning scouts report that the enemy has already cut off our path of retreat. Please make a decision. 2 messengers came in to report. One was from the glider unit, while the other was from a scout. The scouts were a bit slower than the enemy's advancing speed. Set up camp here. Divide the unit into 2. 2,000 people form a defensive circle and form a triangle. Hurry. For a moment, Zhao Hanzhong no longer considered how to attack the enemy's highland. Instead, he switched from offense to defense. He also knew who his opponent was. Since the enemy was able to mobilize 4 regiments, they were at least divisions in size. How could their commanders be lacking? Send a report back. Our army is unable to complete the retreat mission. We are surrounded. Please give your orders. Zhao Hanzhong couldn't think of a better plan. He wanted to say that they would defend and wait for reinforcements, but he was afraid that they would implicate their own troops. He wanted to say that they would break out of the encirclement, but he was also worried that they would disrupt the deployment of their rear. When Zhang Shogui received Zhao Hanzhong's report, he felt like his head was about to explode. He looked at Highland 1103 on the sand table and said, "They want to force me to attack or go around to rescue the vanguard. Tell me again, what should we do?" The officers also realized that something was wrong. Those who had just said that they wanted to take the Highland in one go no longer dared to have such thoughts. A forceful attack definitely won't work. Even if we succeed, our ammunition will be greatly depleted. When our army first came ashore, we shouldn't have left the area around Hangzhou. Instead, we should have stabilized the defensive line and waited for the reinforcements to arrive. If our ammunition can't keep up, how can we fight? I'm asking you about the present. Why are you bringing up the past? When I gave the order, none of you objected. Now you want to force me down first? What do we do now? Zhang Shogui slapped the table and reprimanded the officer. The officer was startled. His words just now had been unintentional. After all, he was just analyzing the situation. He began to analyze the cause. Seeing that the general was angry, he quietly said, "Let's go around. I propose that we go around. General Zhao still has 4,000 men. Let's go around a place where the enemy's defenses are lax. In one go, we can coordinate from the inside and outside and rescue General Zhao's men. After that, we'll retreat back to Hangzhou's harbor and resupply with ammunition and provisions. Then we'll make plans. Otherwise, if we run out of ammunition, Our army can only fight with bayonets. The enemy still has crossbows. Then do you know how many people the enemy has? Our army has gone around them. By the time we meet up with the vanguard, the enemy has already retreated from the vanguard. Our 14,000 men might have entered an even larger encirclement. Our advantage is our weapons, not our speed. We also need 2 legs to walk, and those few horses are used to pull cannon carriages. Tell me, what should we do if we're surrounded? Zhang Shogui continued to ask. This time no one made a sound. Zhang Shogui circled the sand table muttering, "Our army isn't suited for siege warfare. The best terrain is either high ground for defense or flat plains. But why do we have to be the ones to attack? Oh, I remember now. We're using advanced weapons to lead the great Tang soldiers to attack the natives. Right, we're the aggressor. Aya, these natives are too smart to the point where they know themselves and their enemy. If we're there, we'll have to kill at least 60,000 of the natives' main force if we want to win. If they're in hiding, then it's easier to deal with them. We can just send out scouts to find them. But now we're making it seem like there's a problem. We must have miscalculated somewhere. Think, calm down, and think carefully." While Zhang Shogui circled the sand table, the other generals returned to their own matters. After a full 30 minutes, Zhang Shogui suddenly stopped, clapped his hands together and laughed. "Ha! I know where the problem lies. Our army should have gathered together and linked up the supply lines. Then we should have deployed the main force to find the enemy's main force. If we found that they were defending the mountain, we should first surround it. Then we should wait for the artillery to arrive and bombard them, first cutting off their supply lines and then destroying their fighting strength. If they organize other forces to counterattack, our army can take advantage of the terrain and fight a defensive battle. In this way, we'll turn a battle of command and soldiers into a battle of weapons and supplies. Even if the supplies are the same and we have the advantage in weapons, right, that's what we should do." After thinking things through, Zhang Shogui was elated. He ordered the messenger, "Send a report to the vanguard. Have them defend for now, build fortifications, conserve ammunition, and deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. If the enemy dares to engage in a battle of annihilation, give them a vicious beating. As for supplies, have them think of their own methods. Gather materials from the ground. Feed the horses to the people, and the horses kill them. As for the wild vegetables, birds, and beasts, tell them to hold on. Tell them that every day they can hold on will increase the pressure on the enemy. Our army will quickly contact the Central Army and have them come as quickly as possible. Right now, we just need to rely on perseverance and fight for time. Go." Once the messenger left, Zhang Shogui said to another, "Our army will expand the defensive perimeter. Kill the horses and gather all sorts of food in the surrounding areas. We have to be quick. The more we gather, the more confident we'll be." After the messenger left, Zhang Shogui sat down, his eyes on the sand table. His hand lightly tapped against his leg as he began to hum a tune that only he could understand, his head swaying back and forth with Weiwei. "Haha, I know. The army in front of me definitely isn't led by Wang Wan. Otherwise, why would she leave behind so many supplies for me? If she was leading this army, she would definitely scorch the earth and clear the fields. She would kill all the beasts in the surroundings, pluck all the fruits from the trees, and burn all the grass in the mountains. She wouldn't even leave behind the bark of the trees. At most, I would be able to dig up some roots that weren't burned to death." After analyzing the situation, Zhang Shogui felt that the more he thought about it, the more reasonable it made sense. He felt both a little regret and a little relief that he had not encountered Wang Wan's army. He said to the messenger, "Have the transfer team pick up the pace. Find a way to contact the Middle Army and tell them that Wang Wan's main force is not on the Yellow Mountain line. However, there are at least 30,000 enemy soldiers on the Yellow Mountain line. I hope that the Middle Army can pick up the pace and work with my army to wipe out the enemy on the Yellow Mountain." Zhang Shogui's army stabilized. They did not provide reinforcements, nor did they attack, and they certainly did not retreat. They acted as if they were the ones being attacked, and began to fight a defensive battle. In the center of the sand table, Li Longji had just closed his eyes. When he opened them, he saw that Zhang Shougui's army had stopped, and that Zhao Hanzhong's army had been surrounded. After asking the people who were paying attention to the situation, he nodded and said, Zhao Hanzhong's army has already been dealt with. They charged too quickly, so it's too difficult for them to get back to the rear. Unless they also gather all their weapons, then they can escape with a small portion of their army. But if they escape like this on the actual battlefield, they will definitely be punished and beheaded. So why is Zhang Shougui not daring to advance? It turns out that a powerful opponent can also make a person mature. It actually made a person who likes to attack and launch surprise attacks learn how to defend. Just defend and see how Xiao Bao and Cuckoo respond. Your Majesty, this concubine believes that if Zhang Shougui really does not move, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will be able to quickly eat up his army. Your Majesty, look at the weapons on both sides. Empress Wang could see that Cuckoo had a chance of winning from the situation, and happily told Li Longji this. Li Longji said nothing, waiting for Empress Wang to continue. Empress Wang continued, Your Majesty, look. If Zhang Shougui does not move, Cuckoo and Xiao Bao will quickly eat up one of Zhao Hanzhong's brigades in front of them. They can surround them and then attack them every night. When the wind blows, they can release smoke upwind to cut off the water source of the river where they set up camp. They can also organize small groups of soldiers and use crossbows to shoot. Should Zhao Hanzhong fight or not? If he fights, he will use up his ammunition, and once he runs out of ammunition, he will die. If he does not fight, he will be ambushed every day. How long can he last? Correct. The Empress understands. Li Longji was in a good mood. He hoped that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao could win so that the generals of the imperial court would calm down. They should not think that they were invincible just because they had a few weapons. Every small mistake would result in the deaths of many great Tang men. Gao Lishur added, while wearing down Zhao Hanzhong's army, Cuckoo will be able to determine Zhang Shougui's situation and send out her main force to circle around from the side and surround Zhang Shougui as well. Encircling but not attacking, only defending. Once they were done with Zhao Hanzhong, they could send over some logistics to harass Zhang Shougui's army, preserving the strength of their main force while using the logistics to wear down the enemy's main force. Now that the enemy's entire population was a soldier, transferring manpower and transporting supplies was no problem. Just like the weapons of the Great Tang's attacking side, according to the rules, every once in a while, a batch of ammunition and cannons can be shipped over. If Zhang Shougui, the vanguard, is eaten up, the Great Tang army will be greatly affected. Gao Lishur was excited. His son and daughter-in-law were formidable, and he also felt proud. But what he hadn't expected was that a single military examination would produce such an effect. At the start of the battle, no one could have imagined that Zhang Shougui would suffer such a huge loss. Of course, the current situation was good. The Great Tang generals would know that their advanced weapons were not as effective as they imagined in the desperate resistance of the enemy. Just as Cuckoo had said, in war, it wasn't just weapons that mattered, but people as well. If the general was incompetent, the army would be exhausted to death. When the enemy gathered the strength of an entire race to stake their lives against you, you had to be extremely careful. See, the current situation was like this. Zhu Zizan was the one who was watching the battle the most seriously. In this military examination, he had seen that sometimes cannons and guns couldn't directly decide the outcome of a battle. There were many ways to deal with them. If he had dealt with them properly, he might have been able to achieve the results of Wang Wan's side. Of course, the reason why Wang Wan's side was so formidable was not because of the desperation of the natives, but because of the excellence of their commanders. If the commanders of every regiment, every battalion, and even the commanders of every squad could display their own abilities, they would be able to slowly obtain the results they deserved, gathering small victories to create a great victory. On the battlefield, opportunities change too quickly. Don't underestimate the strength of every single soldier, Zhu Zizan concluded. Then, she whispered to Princess Jincheng, Nunu, don't you think I was very embarrassed at that time? When I was on Mount Hua, I saw the power of the cannon and the advantage of the hot air balloon flying in the sky. I was directly scared. But look at Cuckoo. She and Xiaobao weren't afraid. Their military academy commanders weren't afraid either. In a situation where their weapons were inferior, they thought of all sorts of methods and didn't back down. Husband, there's no need to be so upset. Others were also afraid. The Turks and the tribal leaders of the northern Hebei province were all scared stiff. In the end, our great Tang was able to so easily take back the land. The weapons were man-made under the command of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, so they naturally knew the strengths and weaknesses of the weapons. How could they be afraid? Also, before the military examination, how much effort did they spend to gather intelligence on the enemy commanders? They already did everything they could. When they realized that the weapons weren't good, they tried everything. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame the generals of our great Tang imperial court for being too arrogant. Princess Jincheng consoled Zuzazan. Yes, if you want to blame someone, blame Zhang Shogui. Why did the vanguard charge so quickly? Weren't their supplies limited? If I were him, I would first think of a way to annihilate a portion of the enemy, and then steal their weapons. Once I ran out of ammunition, I wouldn't be slaughtered by the enemy. Zuzazan slapped his thigh and loudly spoke, placing all the blame on Zhang Shogui. On the side, Li Longji pondered for a moment before speaking up for Zhang Shogui. You can't blame Zhang Shogui entirely. He believed that Huan would set up an array and wait for them, and then he would directly engage in a direct battle. Going to Mount Huangshan was also not wrong. If you want to talk about a mistake, it's that his opponent was Huan, and there's also Xiao Bao. His personality and fighting style have all been figured out. In truth, the battle had already begun a long time ago. It was just that the generals didn't realize it. They even spent other people's money, went to other people's restaurants to eat, and bought other people's things. Your Majesty's words are correct. Xiao Bao likes to first obtain information and then act. Unless there's a special emergency, Xiao Bao is very steady. Even now, Xiao Bao still has his own caravan trade with a small country in the southwest. He even has caravans that travel long distances to Duoshire. In order to get on good terms with the other side, he even sells important strategic resources, such as ironware, tea leaves, salt, and other things, including good medicines to treat diseases. His goal is not to get on good terms with the other side, but to gather information on the other side. For example, Your Majesty, if you look at Xiao Bao's account book, you will realize that if you factor in the cost of transportation and labor, sometimes the things he sells are basically capital. He has to bribe people, he has to bribe them, and he also has to spend money to put on the image of a good person for the local people. Every time a caravan makes a trip, not only does it not earn a single copper coin, it might even end up losing money. Gao Lisher recalled what his godson had said to him, and brought it up for everyone to hear. Li Longji nodded again. Xiao Bao does indeed like to collect information, whether it's from other countries or from Great Tang. As long as it's information, even if it's just a little bit that doesn't seem to be a problem, he will get it. Let's see how much information his logistics team can get this time. As he spoke, Li Longji's eyes once again looked at the sand table. Everyone else also looked at the sand table. In Wang Wan's room, Zhang Xiaobao also watched from the side. He did not return to his own place. He had already arranged everything that needed to be arranged. When the battle really started, he would wait for the news from the front line to come back, and then analyze it. Then he would send the order back and let his people do what they needed to do. He estimated that most of his people in the front line would be dead by now. It was his fault for not having a good communication system. Thus, when the battle started, what really mattered was the ability of the commanders of the various basic units on his side. Zhang Xiaobao himself was responsible for the major tactical and strategic arrangements. But because they weren't too far away and the enemy wouldn't be able to intercept all the messengers, Zhang Xiaobao was able to take a little longer to receive the information from the front line. Cuckoo, Highland 113 is still there, but Zhang Shogui has actually stopped there to build fortifications. It seems like he doesn't plan to attack. Shouldn't you move your main force a little? My logistics team has many soldiers, but they can't surround Zhang Shogui. After receiving the latest news, Zhang Xiaobao pointed at an area in front of the sand table, where Zhang Shogui's forces were located. Let's wait a little longer. Once we've worn down Zhao Hanzhong enough, We'll have some free hands to deal with Zhang Shougue. This Zhang Shougue can be considered quite formidable. I originally planned to send him into the mountains of Huangshan, so that he could spread the information. That way, we could launch a defensive counterattack strategy. Now he's actually scared and is acting like a coward. This is a rare situation. I'm guessing that he already knows that I'm here. That's why when you're fighting Zhao Hanzhong, make your logistics team fight harder. It's best if Zhao Hanzhong can guess where your logistics team is and you, the commander, are also guarding this place. I'll send half of my main force, 30,000 people, to stealthily move. I'm waiting for the weather. In Huangshan, there's usually a lot of fog, but it's not coming out. Who threw the dice? What a scam! Wang Wan appeared to have nothing to do at the moment. Zhang Xiaobao's team was still fighting, so it was not yet time for her team to go up. Otherwise, if she really did go up, it would be easy for Zhang Shougue to immediately retreat. In any case, the pursuit was not as effective as the initial encirclement. Zhang Shougue's forces still had not lost their fighting strength, and their weapons were basically exhausted. If she gave chase now, the enemy would come out to stop her. Oh, Zhang Xiaobao replied. That's fine. I'll slowly grind him down. There's no rush. In any case, Zhao Hanzhong can't escape. Through his mouth, we can make Zhang Shougue make a mistake in his judgment. This will give Zhang Shougue some confidence so that he won't run too fast. Don't you think he's a fool? He dares to charge all the way at the vanguard. I hope that their middle army can learn from him and speed up their advance. It would be best if they reach the Yellow Mountain region. We'll fight here and eat up his middle army. Then victory will be in sight. Then I'll go back and wait for a while. If Xiaobei and the others send a message, you should receive it first. There's no need to rush to send it to me. I'll fight until I find a safe distance and meet up with Zhao Hanzhong. I'll scare him to death, haha. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao ran out to make arrangements. He no longer needed to wait outside the door. This could be considered a privilege, and he could make up for the time he had spent giving Li Longji advice. Xiaobei's group, which his older brother and sister were worried about, had already arrived at Kaifeng. They were buying local goods, and if they were lucky enough, they could sell them in Jiangzhou and make a fortune. If they left Kaifeng, they would continue to travel along the waterway, following the Bian River to the Huai River, and then into the canal. This way they wouldn't have to go too far. The fleet was temporarily docked at Kaifeng's harbor. This place had always been well developed in terms of water transport. Besides Xiaobei's ship, there were also other ships coming and going. Most of them were cargo ships, but there were relatively few passenger ships. There were also small fishing boats moving back and forth on the river, occasionally casting a net. Sometimes they would stop as a small merchant ship, leaning against the shore where the current was less turbulent and waiting for someone to call them. Kaifeng could be considered a large city. To the west was Luoyang, and a little further down was Chunlu. Besides trade, it was also strategically important, so it naturally had to have a garrison on guard at all times. It wasn't to guard against enemies from other countries, but to guard against rebellions within the Great Tang. Through this place, they would need to know what was going on. Because of his older brother's worries, when Xiaobei arrived at Kaifeng, the garrison there was very nervous and immediately protected Xiaobei and the others. There's no need to be like this. Right now it's Kaifeng. You guys go about your own business. I want to see the fishing boat. It's really fun. It can even stop and entertain the people on the shore. Xiaobei did not disembark. He stood on the deck of the ship. This place was much larger than other places, so he could make some barbecue or hot soup. Xiaobei had 11 children, and his mouth had not been idle the entire time. If he were to weigh himself, he would have gained 2 caddies. Kaifeng's garrison used other ships to surround Xiaobei's flagship. No other ships were allowed to approach. The local commander was surnamed Hu, called Hu Xiao. He was very worried that something might have happened to the Zhang and Wang family's ancestors in his territory, let alone someone plotting against them. Even if they fell ill in the heavy rain 2 days ago, he would not be able to explain it to the world. So, Hu Xiao took a few people and boarded Xiaobei's ship. They closely followed Xiaobei's footsteps. Only Xiaobei liked to run around, so he took Panner with him. General Hu, you don't need to worry. I brought a lot of people. To be honest, when you came up, the people I brought had to be on guard against you. It's not that they don't trust you, but they must treat everyone as a threat. Put them back. Let the people by your side go back. You stay here by yourself. Wow, look at that little boat, that little fishing boat. They actually caught a big shrimp. Aya, it's 2 inches long. I want it, quickly go buy it. I'll cook it for Pan. Don't worry, Pan. While Xiaobei was talking to Hu Xiao, her eyes were always looking at a small fishing boat on the water. That fishing boat was next to a clump of grass on the shore. At the stern of the boat, there was a person fishing for shrimp. Xiaobei happened to see it. Her eyes were very sharp. Even though it was so far away, 2 boats away, and there was still some distance between them, she could still see the size of the shrimp. As she spoke, she had already arrived at the front of the ship. Hu Xiao was startled by Xiaobei's actions and quickly took off her outer clothes. Inside, she was wearing a short skirt. She was probably prepared to save someone if they fell into the water. Go, I'll buy that shrimp. No matter how much it costs, it looks good. It's a good shrimp. Xiaobei even stretched her neck to look. She saw that person put the shrimp he caught into a wooden basin on the boat. She smacked her lips and told someone to go buy it. The news spread to the other boats. Some people changed boats and headed towards the fishing boat. Hu Xiao moved closer to Xiaobei and looked at the water below the boat from time to time. The boat was so high that just looking at it made him feel dizzy. When the wind blew, his legs and stomach would cramp. He said to Xiaobei, "Patrol Envoy Zhang, stand next to me. I'll block the wind for you. Don't stand too far away. I'll be able to buy the shrimp soon. Don't worry." Oh. Xiaobei indifferently stepped back a little, giving Hu Xiao some face. Her eyes were still looking at the person fishing for the shrimp. At the same time, she muttered in confusion. How much can he catch? Others fish at night, but he fishes during the day. Is the shrimp he sells enough for his living expenses? When I have time, I'll fish too. I'm not as stupid as him. I'll fish at night and see how much I can earn by selling the prawns I catch. General Hu, stop right there. Don't come near me. I can see that you can't even stand properly. If you accidentally fall, I'll have to save you. For my sake, you have to take care of yourself. I don't want to always jump from such a high place. After that, I have to take a shower and change clothes. It's a waste of my time. Xiaobei muttered and said a few words to Hu Xiao, who was about to come over. Hu Xiao was stunned and asked uncertainly, "Patrol Envoy Zhang, you know how to swim?" "No, I only know how to walk in the water. It's so tiring to swim. Do you know the only difference between the water and the shore? It seems that you don't know either. That is, when you are walking on the shore, when you are tired, you can rest and stop. When you are tired in the water, you can continue to walk with the water and save your energy." Xiaobei winked at Hu Xiao and said, "Ah." Hu Chang replied in astonishment. Xiao Yuan, who was nearby, shouted to Hu Xiao, "Don't worry about Xiaobei. Let me tell you this. Everyone on this boat fell into the water. If only one person can survive, it will definitely be Xiaobei. You should stay away from Xiaobei. Otherwise, if you push her down, she'll get angry." Oh. Hu Xiao understood. He thought that he was a good swimmer, but he didn't expect that this little girl was so good. No wonder she wasn't afraid at all when standing at the bow of the boat. Even if she fell, she could still get back up, even if it was from such a high place. While they were talking, the people on the other side had already come into contact with the people on the fishing boat. However, from this side, it seemed that things weren't going well. It seemed that there was some kind of dispute. After waiting for a while, the 2 boats separated. The small boat that went to buy the shrimp turned back. The people on the boat made a helpless gesture and spread their hands, indicating that they didn't buy it. Not selling? I already said no matter how much it costs, I bought it. I like that shrimp and want to give it to Pan Air. I'm not afraid of spending more money. People are fishing for shrimp in the middle of the day. If they don't sell it for a good price, how can they eat and wear clothes? Xiaobei thought that the people she sent over didn't pay enough, so she was a little unhappy. Hu Xiao saw that his opportunity to show off had come. He glared at them and said, "Who is so bold? How dare they not give me face on the river in Kaifeng? I ruined his business. Someone come. Stop it. If you dare to ruin his business, I will arrest you. You are bullying people in front of me. Are you looking down on us? Xiaobei was unwilling. If she really let Hu Xiao use force, her reputation would be ruined. People would think that it was the result of her connivance. Only then did Hu Xiao react. Xiaobei was a person who specialized in investigating officials, so he quickly explained, "That's not what I meant. I just asked someone to persuade the person who was fishing for the shrimp and to speak nicely." "No need. I will remember this person. Later, I will ask someone to pay attention to him. If anything happens to him, I will look for you first. Don't say one thing in front of me and another behind my back. I have seen this too many times." Xiaobei directed all her anger at not being able to buy the shrimp at Hu Xiao. Hu Xiao opened her mouth but held back. She didn't want to explain. She thought that she would have to protect that person in the future. Otherwise, Xiaobei's people would think that she was looking for trouble. When she looked at Xiaobei again, Hu Xiao finally understood why the officials were afraid of them. Although she was small, she was very clever. She could guess anything and didn't give people a way out. The small boat that went past also slowly approached. A rope ladder went down. A person came up and said to Xiaobei, "Little girl, that old man said he's not selling. No matter how much it costs, he's not selling." "Oh, he wants to eat it himself? I thought he was a seller. Look at other fishing boats. When they catch a good fish, the people on the shore will just wave and shout for them to buy it. That boat, his family is really smart. They actually set up a stove on the boat and can start cooking immediately. When the people on the shore smell the fragrance, they can come up to the boat and eat fresh food while drinking and enjoying the scenery. It's really beautiful." When Xiaobei heard that the other party was not selling, she thought that it was for the food. What she wanted was the feeling of fishing, not a source of income. This was what they meant by saying that it was difficult to buy her with money, unless she used force and took out money to hire people to rob her. But Xiaobei couldn't do such a thing. When he heard that it wasn't for sale, he turned his attention to other boats and learned to quickly forget about the shrimp. He wasn't like other children who couldn't get what they wanted if they couldn't get it. Xiao Yuan overheard and asked the person who just passed by, "Did you mention who we are?" "No. You usually don't allow me to mention it, right?" The person replied. "Then you go again. Tell that old man that Xiaobei wants to eat that prawn. Ask him if he's willing to sell it," Xiao Yuan instructed. The person really went down. The people on the boat watched to see what the outcome would be. This time it was indeed different. The old man said a few words to the person who went over, then raised his head and looked in their direction. Then he nodded to the person who went over and said a few more words. The person who went over showed a troubled expression and finally came back empty-handed. "Xiao Yuan, it seems that our reputation is not useful. The old man isn't selling." Xiaobei was really disappointed this time. She didn't care that she couldn't buy anything with money, but she cared a lot about the power of her reputation. In the past, no matter where she was, even in the palace, once her name was announced, she would be treated differently. When she was outside, it was even more so. If she said that she was Xiaobei, she wouldn't have to pay for anything. She would have to accept anything that she liked. Although the value of the gift was higher than what she had bought, she was in a good mood. Why didn't it work today? Xiaobei was very regretful. Xiao Yuan's expression was not good either. Hu Ming was even angrier. He hated that old man. Xiaobei had already revealed her identity, but he still didn't give her face. Why was it so difficult for such a cute girl to eat your shrimp? The person who went came back and climbed up. Without waiting for others to ask, he quickly said, "That old man said that he could give it to you for free. However, he had conditions. I didn't dare to make the decision, so I left it at that." "He said that he could give it to you? That's good. What are the conditions?" Xiaobei was happy when she heard that the other party was willing to give it to her. She could eat all of them. He said that he caught quite a few shrimps and gave one away. As for the other shrimps, he asked if I wanted to exchange. I said that I only wanted one, but he said no. He could only give one away, but the condition was that the other shrimps had to be exchanged. The person who came back had a helpless look. It was probably his first time meeting such a person. When he didn't hear the name of Xiaobei and the others, he directly refused. Now that he heard it, he had conditions. Xiaobei was also surprised. Exchange? Exchange. What does he want to exchange for? It can't be gold, right? That would be too tacky. No, he wants to exchange for a poem. A poem for each shrimps. That means that if you eat his shrimps, you have to compose a poem for him. The person explained to Xiaobei with a confused look. Ah, you can play like that? Poem? What's a poem? Little Yuan, it's up to you. I don't have to eat his shrimps. I just feel that he isn't very spirited. We can't let him look down on us, right? When Xiaobei heard that it was a poem, his eyes immediately froze. He could only ask Little Yuan for advice. Little Yuan didn't care, but she wasn't happy. She said, "You can give him the poem, but his price is too high. What kind of shrimps are worth a poem? Is my poem that worthless? Go down and bargain with him. A poem costs 10 shrimps. If you can recite 3 shrimps, it'll be considered a success. Go on." The person went down again. Thankfully, the person running the errands was usually trained. Otherwise, he would have fallen down after a few rounds and had to be rescued. Patrolling Inspector Zhang, I have an idea. What do you think? Hu Qiao felt uncomfortable when he heard that. That old man was a bully. Hence he said to Xiaobei, "What's the idea?" Xiaobei turned his head and asked, "Isn't it just a poem? We can spend money to buy a poem. With a shout, a poem, regardless of whether it's good or bad, we can buy it for 10 copper coins. This old man just wants to show how different he is. He doesn't need money to appear elegant. Let's not give him the chance and use the poem we bought to deal with him. In that case, on the surface, it looks like he is exchanging the poem, but in fact, won't it still smell like money? Right. We can eat the shrimps and humiliate the old man. What do you think?" Hu Qiao said his idea with a look as though he wanted to claim credit. Xiaobei immediately turned his head back and didn't look at Hu Qiao. He acted as though he was very angry. Little Yuan said by the side, "Then why don't I just let my inner courtyard find a group of people and let each of them sing a poem? I don't need to give the inner courtyard any benefits. Wouldn't it be cheaper if we calculate according to the cost? The old grandpa isn't doing it for the poem, he just wants to play with us. He probably wants to see what we look like. He has never seen us before, but has always heard of us. Now that there's a chance, he wants to meet us. It's not like we can't meet him, right, Xiaobei?" At this moment, Little Yuan understood. After some consideration, he felt that his poem wasn't for sale. He felt a lot better. "That's right. Wait for him to come over. I'll discuss with him and say if singing a song will work. I reckon it will work." Xiaobei went along with Little Yuan's words and said. Hu Qiao was touched and helpless when he heard that. He sighed and said, "Xiaobei, Little Yuan, the both of you are too kind. It's easy for you to be bullied and cheated." That's right, that's right. I'm that kind. Sometimes I wonder why I'm so kind. Later on I figured it out. It's because I have a benevolent heart. Xiaobei puffed out her chest and patted her chest with her small hand. Little Yuan and the inner courtyard members of the nearby Zhang Wang family turned their heads at the same time. They didn't look at Xiaobei. They knew very well whether she was kind or not. They also felt sorry for Hu Qiao. Little Yuan wanted to tell Hu Qiao that he hadn't seen Xiaobei when she was ruthless. If she attacked someone, it would mean that he was too kind or a fool if he could see the slightest bit of kindness in her. While they were talking, the old man's boat approached. There was also a person who was in charge of rowing the boat. The old man didn't request for anyone to go down to fetch him. He casually climbed up and was in good health. The moment he appeared, he stopped and sized them up. When he saw Xiaobei and company, he smiled. "You've grown so big? Good, good. How many years has it been? Sigh. Eat some prawns." Chapter 1025. Xiaobei and the others came over to see what the old man looked like. They didn't expect him to have such a personality, but when they heard the old man's words, they all looked at each other. Xiaobei walked forward and pulled on the old man's arm. He asked curiously, "Grandpa, do you know us?" "I don't know you. I've heard of you, but I've never seen you before. I've seen Xiaobao once, and I've also seen your sister Cuckoo once, far away. At that time, the two of them were as cute as you. The old man's eyes were red. As he spoke, it seemed like he was reminiscing. Is that so? I look as good as my brother and sister? Xiaobei heard the praise and twisted his body in embarrassment. Yes, yes, cute. Our family's Xiaobei is the cutest. If anyone says otherwise, this old man will fight them to the death. Do you want to eat shrimp? Come, come, look. I've been fishing for 3 days. I caught them in the cool grass during the day. I've been raising them. Finally, you're here. As the old man spoke, he patted Xiaobei's head. Then he took the wooden basin that someone brought up and pushed it in front of Xiaobei. Xiaobei wasn't stupid. When he heard the old man's words, he felt like something was wrong. Just now, he said he wasn't selling, and now he said he wanted to exchange it for a poem. Why did his attitude suddenly change? So he said, Grandpa, should we eat first or write a poem first? Let's make a deal. I don't know how to write, so Xiao Yuan will write. Xiao Yuan will do it alone, so it'll count as everyone's share. I can only tell you stories and sing songs. Let's agree on how many shrimp for a poem? The old man's eyes narrowed as he smiled. He nodded and said, any amount is fine. Let's eat first and talk while eating. Compose a poem and tell a story. This is His Majesty's Princess, Pan-Er, right? The old man saw Pan-Er again. Pan-Er had been brought up by Xiaobei and was no longer afraid of strangers. In the past, she always liked to hide behind people and poke her head out to look at people. Now she stood there openly and looked up curiously at the new old man. Xiaobei didn't know why, but when he saw this old man, he felt very close. He didn't need anyone to protect or search him, and he knew that this old man had no ill intentions. It was very mysterious. So he took the initiative to pull on the old man's clothes and lead him to the place where the tableware was placed. The old man followed, and he even had to match Xiaobei's pace. When they arrived, Xiaobei introduced them. Grandpa, this is Junior Uncle Emperor's son. He's the youngest and was born on the same day as Pan-Er. Junior, come say hello. Xiaobei said to Li Jun. Li Jun looked at the old man. Wei Wei bowed and said, Junior greets the elder. Okay, but you can't do that. This is Lil Wang, Lil Bei and Lil Hai. Come over here and try the prawns. The old man was holding the basin in his hand, so he couldn't help but bend over and turn to look at Lil Hai. The group of children gathered around the tableware. Wu Xiao looked very nervous. He looked at the prawns in the basin and thought that they were poisonous. He glanced at the old man from time to time, and then looked back at the prawns. He deliberately let the old man see his attitude. Seeing the old man pretending not to know, he said, This official is Hu Xiao, a military officer in Kaifeng. May I ask where you are from? Oh, hello, General. This old man should be considered as a citizen of the capital. I didn't stay in the capital before. At that time, the emperor was not the emperor. Now this old man has no home. Wherever the main family goes, I will follow. Wherever is good, that is where my home is. A few days ago, Kaifeng was my home. Now that I'm on the ship, this ship is my home. Okay, Xiaobei? The old man didn't seem to care about Hu Xiao's identity at all. He was very calm and asked Xiaobei who was next to him. Xiaobei nodded. Okay, our ship is very big. There is a vacant house. Grandpa, if you want to live there, you can live there. But what about your ship? And the person who rowed the ship for you? Carry him to the big ship? It takes up too much space. My family has a special boat. It doesn't matter. Let him go back and tell the master that I am accompanying our family's little ancestor, Xiaobei and Xiao Hai. The master will naturally be relieved when he hears this. The old man waved his hand casually, but his eyes swept over the deck. He seemed to be looking for someone, but he didn't see anyone. He looked a little regretful. When he turned back and saw Xiaobei and Xiao Hai, he became happy again. Xiaobei gave a look to the person next to him. That person immediately went to inform the person who rowed the ship for the old man. Of course, they also had to send someone to secretly follow the old man. Otherwise, they would be too unqualified. Eat. The old man showed a kind smile on his face and pointed to the big prawns in the basin. They are all alive. It's not easy to fish for prawns. You have to find the right place to fish for prawns. Some prawns don't have any meat in spring. They are all shells. Some have more meat. In fact, my fishing ability is the best. I am not worse than your brother Xiaobao. Let's go, I will fish for you to eat. As long as there is a river, no matter how clever the fish is, I will catch it for you, okay? Okay, Grandpa, you are really amazing. Then do you know where we are going? Will you follow us all the way? Xiao Bei understood the meaning behind the old man's words. He wanted to follow the ship, and he wanted to fish for him all the way. That was strange. Who was the other party? He didn't feel like he was willing to follow him because of his identity. I know. You are going to Jiang District, which is Peng Xian Lake. There are many fish, prawns, and crabs there. There are also other shellfish in the river, water birds, and so on. When you arrive, there will be some people waiting there. When the time comes, let them come up. With my old arms and legs, it will be easy for me to fall into the lake. Let them protect me. Don't worry. They will be as loyal to you as your family's protection team is. This time the old man said more. When the 9 children heard this, they understood. The old man's identity was not ordinary, and he seemed to want to protect them. They understood, but at the same time they were puzzled. They looked at each other and shook their heads. They couldn't guess the old man's identity. Little Hai looked at the old man and hesitated for a moment. In the end, he did not directly ask about the old man's identity. Since the old man did not say anything, he would just pretend that he did not care. Instead, he was interested in the old man's words. He asked, Grandpa, can you tell me how you know we're going to Jiang District? We didn't tell anyone. This was what Little Hai was worried about. Since the others knew, what was the use of him waiting for them? They had already prepared everything that needed to be prepared, so it would be troublesome to investigate again. The old man smiled mysteriously at Little Hai and said, Don't worry. We know the way, but the others don't. If you go, the people of Jiang District won't be on guard, unless someone leaks the secret. The old man looked at Hu Xiao. Hu Xiao was depressed. He was still on guard against the old man earlier, but now he was the one who had to be on guard. He was so angry that he could not help but say, You old man, if you didn't tell me, how would I know? I only know that Lil Bei and the others are passing by. As for where they are going, I don't know. I thought they were going to Luzhou. Now that you mention it, I know that they are going to Jiang District. Someone there is going to be in trouble. How about this? I won't go down. I'll go with the ship. Give me a place to eat and sleep. The old man smiled and nodded. I think so. It said that you adjunct who have a good aim. Within 300 meters, you can shoot wherever you point. None of your shots missed. With you around, we'll have more protection. Lil Bei, can you give me some face? You're not considered to be absent. We'll temporarily lend you to us. Grandpa, you're really good. You know that he has a good aim. Come, let's cook the prawns. Light the fire first, boil the water, and put a little salt in the pot. It's not salty. Panner doesn't like it. Lil Bei did not care if there was one more person or one less. After all, the more people there were, the merrier. She did not know that the fleet in Jili province had departed. She was traveling at the fastest speed to the estuary of the Yangtze River along the coast. When she arrived at the Yangtze River, she would be able to reach Jiang District ahead of time. She did not know that her own fleet and trackers were moving toward Jiang District. Shu Province's soldiers were gathering at the Iron Chain Bridge. Her explanation was that it was a drill. Ships were joining them from time to time along the way. They were all people from the Zhang family and Wang family. There were also hot air balloons from nearby tourist attractions such as Hangzhou. They said that this was a drill for long-distance tourism. While the others were busy lighting the fire and boiling the water, Lil Bei was talking to the old man. Grandpa, do you know where my things are? Tell me, do you think it's easy for me to sell a doll? They bullied me. Although they might not know that the doll is mine, it's wrong to bully a doll, right? Yes, it's wrong to bully Lil Bei. Even if they don't know about this, they deserve to die if they make our Lil Bei unhappy. The old man agreed with Lil Bei. Huh? Deserve to die? Lil Bei was shocked. It's not that bad. If they are guilty, let's talk about them being guilty. If they are not guilty, Why should they take their lives? We have to be reasonable. I just want to go and take a look. I suspect that there's something wrong with the officials there. Before we have evidence, we can't convict them. Yes. Lil Bei is right. We can't arrest them first. If we do, we will convict them immediately. Our Lil Bei is the best. Be reasonable. No other doll can compare to our Lil Bei. The old man continued to agree. It seemed that whatever Lil Bei said was right. Xiao Bei, on the other hand, was at a loss for what to do with the old man. He wondered in his heart, what's wrong with this old man? It's just like my brother and sister. Whenever I say something, my brother and sister always agree. But if I say something wrong, my brother will tell me a story when he agrees. The more I listen, the more I know I was wrong. Could this old man be like my brother and tell interesting stories? While Lil Bei was thinking, the water boiled. Lil Bei stretched out his hands to catch the prawns. He was very nimble. No matter how the prawns jumped, Lil Bei could always catch them and throw them into the pot. You still want to hide? Let's not talk about you being in the pot. I can catch you even if you are in the river. Do you believe me? Lil Bei competed with the prawns as he mumbled. The prawns didn't say a word, but the old man said, I believe you. Our Lil Bei can even catch fish in the Yellow River with his bare hands, much less pinch a prawn. That's true. Lil Bei wasn't modest at all. He threw another prawn into the pot. The prawn that entered first rolled a few times and turned from white and translucent to red. It was ready to be eaten. It's ready to be eaten. I'll eat first. Lil Bei scooped up the prawn and wanted to eat it. Hu Xiao hurriedly said, Patroller Zhang, I like to eat prawns too. Can you let me eat first? I've been waiting for a long time. The old man said unhappily, I'll eat first. Just as Lil Bei was about to say something, a voice came from behind. Lil Bei, since it's a gift from your grandpa Wang, you can eat it. Lil Bei paused and turned his head. He shouted in surprise. Mom, why are you here? Didn't you say that the spring winds are too strong? Do you know an old grandpa? Then I'll eat first. The old man stood up and stared unblinkingly at Lil Bei's mother, who was the Jiang Wang clan. The Jiang Wang clan's eyes also reddened. She also stood there and stared at them. After a while, Lil Bei's voice rang out. Mom, this old grandpa used to be our neighbor? We don't have him in the village, right? The Jiang Wang clan finally regained her senses. She quickly walked over to the old man and asked softly, Uncle Sang, why are you here? My dad. Good. Everyone in the family is fine. I didn't want to disturb you, but I heard from Master that His Majesty told Master that someone was bullying our Lil Bei. Master panicked and told me to bring the family's guards and rush over to help kill them. I was afraid that you wouldn't see me, so I waited here. If you didn't see me, I would follow behind and catch some prawns to pass the time. Who knew that I was fated with Lil Bei? She saw me and caught some prawns. Xiao. Or look at your complexion. Let me touch you. Good, you're pregnant again. The family is going to be lively. When are you going to go back and take a look? It's been so many years. Woo. As the old man spoke, he reached out and grabbed Wang Qiao's hand. He placed his finger on her wrist and began to cry again. Wang Qiao also cried. She nodded as she cried. Lil Bei was stunned. He thought for a while and finally understood. He asked, Mom, it's your family, right? Isn't that the same family that my family would send a generous gift to every year? No wonder you let me catch prawns. When I see old Grandpa Wang, I feel good. Then why do you call Grandpa Wang Uncle Sang? The old man let go of his hand and patted Lil Bei's head. He said, because Grandpa used to take your mom to catch fish. Then we would find something by the river and fill a basket with fish. Oh, I see. I understand. Then I'll call you Grandpa Prawn in the future. No, it doesn't sound nice. I'll call you Grandpa Fishing. Grandpa Fishing, have you eaten the food I sent you? Lil Bei was very good at talking, but for some reason, he couldn't see anyone from his mother's side. I've eaten it. The food is good, but it's not as good as seeing you. The prawns you cooked for Grandpa are the best. Xiao, or you haven't told them yet? The old man became happy again when he saw Lil Bei. He asked Wang Qiao at the same time. No. My husband is busy managing the Ministry of Works all day. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are competing in the martial arts examination. I was afraid that he would be distracted, so I didn't let them send it back. It's the same on the boat. Grandpa Wang, has Dad not done anything in Hangzhou? Wang Qiao explained and asked again. No, he hasn't. Master is usually fishing. What he likes to hear the most is about Lil Bei and Xiao Bao. If he can't hear them, he will send a message to the capital and ask His Majesty. His Majesty won't pursue the past matters. It's all because of you and the friendship he left behind in the past. Do you want to go and take a look this time? The old man talked about the situation at home, and then asked with uncertainty. Wang Qiao thought for a while and nodded. Let's go. Let the children see. It's good that I'm staying behind with my sister. She's also here. Don't you think it's a coincidence? Chapter 10:26. After all, Xiao Bei was still a child. When she heard that she could go to a place with many people, she was very happy. But she suddenly remembered that she had never been to her grandfather's house. What if they didn't like her? Thinking of this, Xiao Bei looked up and asked Mr. Wang, Grandpa Fish, do you think we will be bullied in Hangzhou? Who dares to bully our Xiao Bei? Master can't even wait to see you at home. Your eldest uncle is also disappointing. He married 3 wives and gave birth to 5 children, but none of them are capable. It's fine if they're not boys, but they're not as smart as you, not even a little bit. They either throw tantrums or run around all day long. No matter how many times they are beaten, they still don't remember. When there are people around, they bully people when they go out to buy things. When there is no one around, they don't even greet strangers. Unlike our Xiao Bei, who can go out and be an official by herself. Back then, our family sent a few people to Sanshui County. Later, all the servants of that family were driven out of the house. The more the old man looked at Xiao Bei, the more he liked her. Although she was young, she was sensible and had a sweet mouth. When she smiled, 2 dimples appeared. Her big eyes were like her mother, Qiao and seemed to be able to speak. Xiao Bei, however, spoke up for her sisters whom she had never met before. It's wrong to hit a child. If you can't do it well, you can teach me, right? Yes, you can teach me. It's wrong to hit a child, especially one like our Xiao Bei. Not to mention hitting her. Even a glare is a crime. Go back and tell Master that you are not allowed to hit her in the future. The old man continued to follow Xiao Bei's words. I wasn't beaten out of the house. My brother never hit me, nor did he let others hit me. He said that only incompetent adults hit children. Is it true that no one bullied me? I'm not familiar with this place. Xiao Bei asked again. The old man was not angry. He still had a smile on his face. Xiao Bei is an official, a 3rd-ranked official. It's a big crime to hit an official. Not to mention ordinary people. Has His Majesty ever hit you? If His Majesty even touched you, your brother Xiao Bao would fight His Majesty to the death. No, he won't. Uncle Emperor is the best. When my family sent a chair to Uncle Emperor always asked my family to make it bigger so that I could squeeze in the seat beside him. My brother is also reasonable. Xiao Bei continued to maintain its kind nature. Little Yuan said from the side. That's because we haven't been bullied. Otherwise, brother and sister would have killed them. Look at this time. We came out with more than 1,500 people. Brother is worried that we will be bullied outside. 1,500? That. When the old man heard this, he knew that something was wrong. The information he received was definitely not 1,500 people. Even if there were 15,000 people, it was still more than that. Xiao Bao had put on the posture of an army at the city gate. Something had been happening there recently. The old man didn't say it out loud. Instead, he looked at Wang Qiao. He didn't believe that the most beloved princess in his family wouldn't know. Wei Wei of the Zhang Wang clan smiled and said, I didn't tell Xiao Bei and the others. Since I mentioned it today, there's no harm in telling them. Xiao Bei, your brother and sister have sent out the fleet of Jili State. When the time comes, they will stop in the middle of the lake. If you guys are in any danger, get into position and attack. Your aunt and I have your younger brother or sister, so we won't accompany you to avoid being frightened. You have to be careful. Actually, it's not a big deal. You've been used to running around since you were young. No matter how dangerous it is now, it's not as scary as when we were young. If we can really fight in Jiang province, you guys can also learn from it. Xiao Bei and the 9 children were stunned when they heard that. They thought that the officials of Jiang province would be like mice that saw a cat when they went over to deal with them. They did not expect that their brother and sister would transfer the fleet over. The 9 children knew very well that the Tang Dynasty's fleet was actually dominated by their family. The number of ships in their family accounted for more than 80% of the Tang Dynasty's fleet. The fleet of Jili State was the most powerful. It was only stronger than Luzhou because it had to suppress Xi in Luo and Japan. The ships were large, there were many of them, they were fast, had a long range, and the quality of the personnel was high. The overall cooperation was good. When all 60 ships came over, they were like mountains, forming a majestic formation. Xiao Bei swallowed his saliva and looked nervous. He said, Are we going to war? I haven't learned how to command yet. You only know how to scare me with tripping ropes. Do you think our family lacks battle commanders? Aunt, when we were young, did we encounter more powerful enemies? Xiao Yuan asked a key question. Zhang Wangclan glanced at Hu Xiao hesitantly. Hu Xiao suddenly shuddered. He gritted his teeth and took the initiative to say to Xiao Yuan and the others, In the past, your family was powerful, but you could only stay in Sanshui County. At that time, the people of Sanshui County did not support you as much as they do now. Besides, Huayuan County had some foundation. There was no other place. At that time, Luzhou did not have many people. He wanted to support you, but he did not have the strength. At that time, it was not too difficult for someone to deal with your family. Fortunately, there was the Minister of Revenue and the little prince to protect your family. Your brother and sister were dancing on the tip of a knife. Every time they made a choice, they had to satisfy others. Otherwise, they would be doomed. Then your brother and sister began to use the power of others to fight against others. Little by little, you achieved your family's current status. There are elite troops in the north, south, east, and west of the Tang Dynasty that are loyal to your family. The business in the Two Rivers area, the Great Tang Bank, and the military industry are all in your hands. Otherwise, why are you so carefree? How can you become a third-grade official at such a young age? Is that so? Xiaohai understood. His logical thinking ability was very strong, and his ability to understand abstract things was not weak. After hearing Hu Zhao's words, he understood why his family had been cultivating all kinds of talents since many years ago. Political, military, economic, public relations, and technical. Everything was to form enough strength to compete with any force. Xiao Bei blinked and said, I was wondering why it was so easy for me to ask Uncle Emperor to become a 7th-grade official with real power. It turns out that it is not only because I am cute. Being cute can only make others like me, not respect me. Just like what Grandpa Fish said, the servant who disrespected my family in the past was driven out with his whole family. Alas, it's so annoying. The brothers and sisters in Old Willow Village are better. Hearing Xiao Bei's words, the old man from the Wang family sighed and said, This is human nature. If your father didn't get the first place in the state's provincial examination, his family wouldn't have sent people. If he didn't get the top scorer, his family wouldn't have paid attention to him. It's true. When you were born, your family was already very rich. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo made a lot of arrangements in advance in order to wait for you to be born. The cesarean section in the hospital was actually prepared for you, but it was useless in the end. The two of them led the doctors to secretly dig people's graves and cut people's bodies with knives. It is said that on the day you were born, the whole Luzhou was filled with a tense atmosphere. The people in Luzhou said that at that time, they felt that if anything happened to you, the whole sky would collapse. So Xiao Bei, don't always think that everyone is only interested in you. There is also light in the dark. Xiao Bei lowered his head and thought for a moment. When he raised his head again, he had regained his cheerful appearance. He said to the old man, Grandpa Fish, no wonder Mother is close to you. You are the best servant. Apart from my family and the inner court, no one will say this to me, but Grandpa Fish, you said it. I know, we have our own house, We can walk on the road, we can float on the water. I also have a big pearl that can be used as a ball. If you give me one now, I can't bear to throw it to the ground, but I can throw it to Pan. Mother, when we see Grandpa, don't mention the past. It's all in the past. When you hurt others, unless you are happy, it's better to forget it. Jiang Wangclan smiled, bent down, and kissed Xiaobei's face hard. She said, "If you are a little smarter, you will catch up to your brother and sister." "Huh. I'm not smart enough." Xiaobei pretended to be dissatisfied. "If you are smart, you won't say everything. You haven't seen what your brother and sister were like when they were young. When someone tried to play tricks in front of them, a smile from them was enough to make them feel ashamed, but the words they said gave them a way out." Jiang Wangclan's smile became even brighter. "Okay, I understand. I still have to work hard. That's why my family's little bridge isn't easy to cross, right? It was actually used as a tool for swearing. I have to take their money." As Xiaobei spoke, his hands had already peeled off the shell of a prawn. He tiptoed to feed his mother. It didn't matter who ate the first one, it wasn't poisonous. Hu Xiao followed up and said, "Yes, your family's Sanshui County's bridge to Zhuangzi is even scarier than the Bridge of Helplessness. The Bridge of Helplessness is nothing more than death, but your family's bridge is one step into heaven and one step into hell. Standing here, every step you take is like stepping on the bottom of your heart. Step by step, after a few dozen steps, many people feel like they have walked through the past. The older a person is, the slower they walk, but the younger a child can directly run over. Life is so helpless. Who can have a clear conscience? Who can be proud and have regrets?" Hu Xiao said this because he had also walked past that bridge. It was a very ordinary stone bridge without any unnecessary decorations. It was too far away from being gorgeous, and it was also not close to being graceful. But for some reason, when he thought of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, his heart tightened. He had seen with his own eyes that someone had fainted on the bridge and was carried away by the doctor who was guarding there for treatment. When he really finished the entire journey and arrived at Zhuangzi, he felt very comfortable standing there. There was no love, no hate, no regrets, because this was life. Since there was no turning back, he would resolutely continue on. It wasn't heaven, nor was it hell. It was the human world. His heart recalled the past. He was guilty. Who hadn't done something wrong? However, the world was so big. How many people could judge him? This was also why Xiaobei's 9-member inspection team was feared by the officials. It was because they were qualified to judge the officials and ask if the officials were guilty. "Oh, I understand. In the future, when I catch an official, I'll tell him, if you're not guilty, take 2 steps, right? You're actually quite a good person. You joined the army, right? What's the rank of Kaifeng's army?" Xiaoyuan. Xiaobei liked to hear this kind of words the most. Even if he didn't quite understand sometimes, he could turn back and slowly think about it. If he really couldn't, he could ask his brother and sister. Then he would have a story to listen to. Kaifeng's army is rank 5, lower rank 5. But the army here has a lot of real power. It's more important than an ordinary province's army. Xiao Yuan also had to help Xiaobei remember a lot of things. It was like a dictionary. Oh, it could also be called area. Lower rank 5? Rank 5 is a little small. Do you want to be promoted? I can promote you to rank 4 and let you rule. The Hunan Circuit? No, Hunan Circuit is too big. If you really control the military power of the entire Hunan Circuit, won't you become a provincial governor? Where does Hunan Circuit have a provincial governor? Last time, Uncle Emperor told me to arrange positions for people. Look at the place and position, and don't ask for it blindly. How about this? I'll give you the navy of all the rivers connected to Bianzhou, all the way to the Yellow River or the Yangtze River, okay? You'll be the commander-in-chief of the land and water. You can say rank 4 or rank 3. Do you want it? Xiaobei was going to give someone else an official position again. After he finished speaking, he looked at Hu Qiao expectantly. Hu Qiao looked excited at first, but then he shook his head and said, "No, I don't know how to fight in water. Although I'm good at swimming, it's not that I'm selfless, but I'm afraid of being killed. I believe that if you want to command the navy, His Majesty will agree. But one day, When you need me to mobilize the Navy, I can't command it well. If I shirk the responsibility and say that my subordinates are disobedient and stupid, will you agree? No, I'm not stupid. It's your problem if your subordinates are disobedient. If you don't use them well, the first one to deal with will be you. If your subordinates are exiled, you will be beheaded. Xiaobei gave a definite answer. That's right. I don't want to die yet. Hu Qiao looked like he was an honest person. Xiaobei nodded. Oh, that's right. If I give you the Navy now, I'll be harming you. If I don't give it to you, I'll feel that it's a waste of talent. Xiao Yuan, what do you think we should do? I really owe you. You thought about it yourself and then asked me. If he doesn't know, let him learn. After he learns, he will know. Xiao Yuan had just peeled a prawn and took a small bite. He felt that it was bland, and was looking for someone to get salt and pepper. Yes. Learn. We can learn. So Sir Hu, follow the ship and learn from the commander on the ship. Don't think that we're a merchant fleet. Even if the fleet from Jili province attacks us, my current team can still fight to the death with them. Who said that merchant ships can't be armed? Who said that merchant ships have to be slow? Right? Follow and learn along the way. After you learn well, I'll recommend you to my sister's military school. It's okay if you resign from your current position, okay? Xiaobei stomped the deck and asked for Hu Qiao's opinion. Hu Qiao was trembling all over. He finally understood why he was able to protect Xiaobei and his team, and why so many people were looking at him with jealousy. This was an opportunity to reach the heavens in one step. As long as you were capable, or had strong commanding skills, or were serious in your work, even if you couldn't do it, as long as you were honest, you had a high chance of seizing this opportunity. If you missed it, then don't blame the heavens and accuse others. The excited Hu Qiao looked at the Zhang Wang clan. However, the Zhang Wang clan turned her head away. It wasn't that she couldn't make the decision, but that she didn't want to. The old man from the Wang family said to Hu Qiao, Sir Hu, the person who will give you an official position is our Xiaobei, not Xiao. I'm willing. I'll learn. I'm still young. Hu Qiao understood. If he looked at the Zhang Wang clan, wouldn't he be implying that Xiaobei couldn't make the decision? If Xiaobei got angry and lost the opportunity, the Zhang Wang clan would naturally protect her child. If Xiaobei got angry, did he expect him to give him an official position? Xiaobei acted as if he didn't know. Alright then. You'll learn as you go. Start with the basics. The commander of my family's fleet must be familiar with every job. For example, if we're heading east, the wind is westerly. The speed of the sail is very fast, and the ship is at full sail. You're the commander. Through the binoculars, you can clearly see the enemy 2 li ahead. Their position is slightly north. It's a fleet like ours. You just have to shout, drop the sail, turn left, and fire from the right. You're dead meat. Because they're going against the wind, they're also turning left. They're at full sail and half mainsail. We're slightly southwest of them, so they'll come over first. So you have to know what our ship looks like, how fast it turns, and the effective range of the cannon. Do you understand? Hu Qiao nodded in shock. Didn't Xiaobei say that he didn't know how to command? Why was he able to casually give examples when he was talking to him? Then, what do I have to learn first? Hu Qiao asked. Washing the board, arranging the cargo boxes, tying knots, and standing against the wind. A voice came from the side. Hu Qiao turned his head and saw a man who was not even 30 years old. He was very tanned and stood upright with a serious face. He was like a nail that was nailed to the spot. The first impression he gave was only one word, steady. Then it was rigid and mean. I haven't asked? The fleet's commander-in-chief, which is also the captain of the flagship. In the future, you will learn from me and do as I say. I want you to remember the joining points of every piece of deck wood, and arrange the cargo boxes of all shapes and sizes neatly. When you want it to open, it will open with a pull. When you don't want it to open, the cargo will not move with the ship. When you stand on the deck, the wind will not sway you, and the waves will not hit you. As such, you are qualified to move on to the next lesson. When the person spoke, he was also very serious and unreasonable. Okay, I'll do it. Hu Qiao said indignantly. He didn't believe that he couldn't do such a small thing well. Report good news. Little master, little miss, good news. In the hibiscus garden, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were eating lunch boxes when a person suddenly ran in and shouted loudly. Zhang Xiaobao put down his chopsticks and said to the person, "It seems that you are full. You are very confident. Speak, I will eat after you finish." Report, I haven't eaten yet. I am hungry. I will eat later. I have good news. The ladies are pregnant again and are preparing to go to Hangzhou to recuperate. Hangzhou Wang family. The person didn't care about Zhang Xiaobao's attitude at all and said with a smile. With a clatter, Zhang Xiaobao's chopsticks fell on the small table and stared at the person. Wang Wan also stopped eating and opened her mouth slightly, because the two of them heard clearly that the ladies were not the same person. Cuckoo, isn't this too much of a coincidence? Why are you together again? Zhang Xiaobao asked Wang Wan. As the saying goes, I can't make a book out of coincidences. The question is, why did we only find out now? Wang Wan was more concerned about this. Because when we go out, we are afraid of our mothers. We are going to have a younger brother or sister again. I guess we will have to start from the beginning again. Do you think it is a good thing, or a good thing? Zhang Xiaobao thought of the scene of a large group of children running around. It is a good thing. Xiaobei's Agarwood house can be used. Wang Wan gave a definite answer. Chapter 1027. Zhang Xiaobao smiled so widely that his eyes narrowed into slits. He liked having more brothers and sisters, the more the merrier. He was just like other families. It wasn't just the aristocratic families who wanted to have more children. As long as they could make ends meet, ordinary families were also willing to have more children. Once they were in their teens, they would be a good source of labor. This was especially so for boys. They could help the family do a lot of chores. By raising more children, they would have someone to take care of them when they were old. Li Longji, who had been paying attention to the Zhang family and Wang family, quickly received the news. He threw away the two memorials regarding the flood control of the Yangtze River and Yellow River. He rushed over to Wang Wan's headquarters and congratulated her. Xiaobao Cuckoo, congratulations. How many children are there this time? The more the better. 8 or 10 isn't too much. 5 or 6 isn't too much either. Why don't you say thousands or tens of thousands like fishes? Why do you have to say pigs? You're congratulating the wrong person. This has nothing to do with us. You should be congratulating my father and father-in-law. Zhang Xiaobao was very dissatisfied with this number. Even though it was theoretically possible to have 8 or 10 children, it was still a multiple birth. Li Longji didn't think much of it. I'm not scolding anyone. I'll talk to your father and father-in-law when I'm free. Xiaobao, I have an idea. Zhang Xiaobao didn't reply. He guessed that Li Longji couldn't come up with a good idea. Wang Wan continued to look at the map. It was a military map of Hangzhou that had been enlarged many times. It wasn't to prepare for the military sand table. It was to set up sufficient defenses around the area to ward off wind, moisture, mosquitoes, enemies, and loneliness. As long as there was a threat that had the slightest negative effect on pregnant women, it would be blocked outside. Li Longji was very depressed. In the entire Great Tang, only Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan dared to ignore him. Under normal circumstances, Zhang Xiaobao should have replied with a "What's your idea?" This is what this emperor is thinking. This emperor will ask the two madams to help spread the knowledge of conservation. This emperor will also give a push to encourage the people of the Great Tang to have more children. This emperor has asked around. There are some places that are poor. The entire region is poor. If they give birth to a boy, they will keep it, and if they give birth to a girl, they will throw her away. Sometimes, I wonder how many Xiaobei they have thrown away. Girls are also people. If the Great Tang is really full of men, then wouldn't it be over? Hurry up and perfect your plan to subsidize childbirth, and then immediately spread it throughout the Great Tang. Li Longji suggested such a method. This time, Zhang Xiaobao reacted. He shook his head vigorously. I can't control my mother. You can talk to my mother. She agreed. That's her own business. I can help. However, I have to say in advance that I will be helping you with your matters. Advertising, as well as interacting with the people on the streets to talk about the policy, all of these will cost money. The guards will cost money. Organizing the venue and distributing maternity products to pregnant women will also cost money. This money. Aya Xiaobao, you're right. I'll have to trouble your family again. This emperor will remember this in my heart, and will definitely repay you. When Li Longji heard that it was about money, he immediately followed up on Zhang Xiaobao's words. It was impossible for him to fork out the money. Zhang Xiaobao took a look. Seeing that it was indeed the case, he agreed. All right, my family will fork out the money. I will need to borrow the resources of the local government to help organize the event. I will also need to fork out a portion of the money to send gifts to the pregnant women in the area. As for the advertising fee, it will belong to the local government. You can advertise such a thing? Xiaobei and the others have already gone to the local government. Is there a need to tell me? Li Longji did not know who would advertise, and he also did not know what gifts would be sent. Xiaobei and the others have the power to monitor, arrest, and convict people, but they do not have the power to order people around. Naturally, there will be advertisements. Dei Hospital's local medicine is free of charge, but the ribs, fish, vegetables, and diapers for the children have to be bought. The businesses involved can advertise their products' quality and price advantages. The most difficult thing is to change people's views. Otherwise, it will be very harmful to the pregnant women's health. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly remembered this matter. It was very serious. Not to mention now, even when he and Wang Wan were together, there were also some people who kept the tradition. In the end, there were complications such as diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, gynecological diseases, etc. Li Longji realized that he had encountered a problem in this field that he was not clear about. Like a student, he sat up straight and asked, "Indeed, there should be businessmen who advertise. I saw that Xiaobei and the others used something that looked like underwear. It was made of paper. Even the children can use it." Wang Wan put down the map at this time. Xiaobei and the others only started using it after they were 2 years old. Paper diapers are not for them to use casually. Also, the purpose of giving it to Xiaobei and the others was not to let them pee casually. It is to keep them warm, and when the air is humid, bacteria will come into direct contact with their bodies. They only use it once every 2 hours. Can ordinary people afford to use it? We can't give it to them even if we give it to them. Now that there is a lot of cotton, we need to use pure cotton diapers and wash them frequently. This way, the children will not get rashes easily. The most important thing is not this. It is the diet and hygiene during pregnancy and confinement. Now that the medical school's research is out, we can't stick to the previous methods. When Wang Wan talked about this, she seemed very helpless. Li Longji really did not know much about this kind of thing. He was only in charge of making people pregnant, but he was not in charge of taking care of and delivering the child. The only thing he could do was to think of ways to get what the woman he liked to eat when she was pregnant. If she liked to watch a play, he would get someone to act. If she wanted to hear him play the drums, he would play the karma drum. As for the pregnant woman's body, he did not care. Now that he heard what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said, it seemed that there was a lot to know about pregnancy. He asked, for example, "Madam, I will talk to His Majesty. You can continue looking at the map." Zhang Xiaobao continued and said to Li Longji, "For example, there is a tradition in many places. It is called a custom. When a woman is pregnant, she has to raise chickens. When she needs them, she will eat eggs and chicken. This is not wrong. It ensures nutrition because cows and sheep are too expensive, not to mention deer. In the past, the cost of raising pigs was not low. They only knew how to feed pigs with grass and food, but they did not know how to rear pigs. In the end, they gave pregnant women and confinement women chicken, eggs, and millet to their heart's content. Then they fell sick. Usually they can't eat so much. Meat is too big, so they eat it all at once. The thin ones become fat, and the fat ones become fatter. What's wrong with that? Children need to drink milk. Women need to eat more to get milk." Li Longji understood this. Yes, nutrition needs to follow, but who said that nutrition is meat? If you eat well when you are pregnant, The child will grow up, and it will not be troublesome to give birth. Now there is the technology to perform a cesarean, but who is willing to always perform a cesarean? Look at how the dishes sent to you by Savant's restaurant are usually matched. Isn't it to let you have a balanced diet and live a few more years? Look at how I make meat for Xiaobei and the rest. It's not that my family can't afford it, but I can't let them eat it. Sometimes, I have to make some wild vegetables for them to dip in sauce. For every type of food, Cuckoo and I have to tell Xiaobei and the rest a story so that they won't be biased. It's the same for pregnant women. Eating too much meat is not good for the body. Zhang Xiaobao gave an example of Xiaobei and the rest, as well as the food that Savant's restaurant matched for Li Longji and the people in the palace. Li Longji suddenly understood and nodded lightly. He said, "Xiaobao, you are a good person. No wonder Savant's restaurant sent me all bland food in the few days after the new year. There was even coarsely ground cornbread, and there was no honey in it. The food was delicious, but it made me think that there was a problem with the person in charge of Savant's restaurant. He even got someone to test for poison twice. Usually, when Savant's restaurant sent food, it would all go straight to my mouth. No wonder." Continue. Li Longji told the truth about the poison test. He was very embarrassed. It turned out that there was no problem with the management. They were worried that he would eat too much meat during the new year, which was not good for his body, so they adjusted his diet. If they really continued to send meat dishes, there would be a problem with the management. Zhang Xiaobao really didn't know about this. He thought that his godfather was afraid that he would misunderstand, so he didn't let anyone mention it to him. Also, during the month of confinement, the most common time is that you are not allowed to bathe for a month. You are afraid that external evil will enter your body. This is because the medical system in the past was not good, so we could only use a conservative method. However, it is to nourish the bacteria. This matter has a certain reason, but now we don't need to use this method. Cuckoo, I will talk to Her Majesty outside." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he greeted Wang Wan. Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao. "I'm not a child. What are you afraid of? There is nothing that can't be told to others." "All right, you can't tell everyone everything. If the emperor doesn't keep secrets, he will lose his officials. If the officials don't keep secrets, don't say useless things. If the emperor doesn't keep secrets, he will lose his country. You guys can talk. Don't worry about me." Wang Wan interrupted Zhang Xiaobao's recitation of the Analects of Confucius. "Xiaobao, are you saying something that goes against ethics and morality?" Li Longji looked around. If there was something wrong, it was better to say it outside. "No, it's mainly because we are not doctors. It's about a woman's physiological problems. Actually, it's nothing. Let's talk about business. Why can't a woman bathe during confinement? First, it's because the change in temperature can easily affect the body. For example, when you catch a cold, it's cold. Second, when you bathe, even warm water is not as good as the secretion of the woman's body. When a woman gives birth, no matter what she does, she will get injured. There are injuries in the joints and in the uterus. In the past, medical science couldn't catch up, so it was better to let the woman recover on her own. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Back in his time, any man who cared a little about women would be very clear about this. It was not something that belonged to the martial arts world. Good men had to specifically learn how to influence and take care of women during menstruation. But in this era, it's still very shocking to say it so naturally. Li Longji was shocked. It's not because Zhang Xiaobao dared to say such things. It's because, Xiaobao, you want to learn this too? I'm not deliberately learning it. I just want to understand it. I want to continue. But our current medical school's research in this area has always been more advanced than other areas. The main reason is because Xiaobei and the others needed it. I invested a lot of money and it's biased. Medical care for infants and pregnant women is free, right? So don't not bathe for a month. We have thermometers and special sterilizers. What we need to do now is to match the diet. During pregnancy, we can't raise the child too big. It's not easy to give birth. It's fine as long as it's enough. If you raise it to be fat, it might not be healthy. In this way, we can reduce the complications of pregnant women. A healthy child and a healthy mother are the most important. Also, during confinement, don't eat too much millet and eggs just for milk. There's also rice, sorghum, white flour, various vegetables and fish. Take turns to eat. Eat less but eat more. This will speed up the digestion of the stomach and intestines. If there's not enough milk, you can replenish your protein. The most common food is soy products. Of course, eggs are fine too. But you can't eat a pile of eggs every meal. Other than protein, there's also cholesterol. Drink some of Kuenbu's soup. There's also direct sugar intake. Drink more plain water and pure fruit juice. If it's twins and you can't keep up with milk, you can add meat and fish. But you can't focus on everything, especially not eating chicken all the time. This way, there's enough iodine and calcium in the milk, as well as trace elements like iron and zinc. It's helpful for both children and adults. When Zhang Xiaobao said this, he let out a long breath. It was too tiring. Pregnancy and childbirth seemed very simple, but it involved too many things. There was no fixed method, and it could only be adjusted at any time. Wang Wan also listened. She smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "You know quite a lot, Your Majesty. In fact, the birth of a baby is like fighting a war. There must be intelligence, vanguard, middle troops, and logistics. As for the education that follows, that's another story. Children are not cute toys to look at, nor are they the continuation of one's ideals. They are the most precious existence in the world. The most beautiful luminous pearl will dim in front of the dazzling new life." Li Longji listened quietly and listened very seriously. What he wanted to do most was to grab the two people behind the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families and ask them, "How many things do you know? Why did you choose Xiaobao and Cuckoo? Other than knowledge and talent, could it be that you can also teach human nature?" Of course, he also wanted to capture Xiaobao and Cuckoo and interrogate them. "How did you learn? The knowledge you learned is too diverse and vast. Aren't you tired? You know all the subjects of the imperial examinations, and you're at the top of all of them. Literature, law, politics, calculation, national policy, calligraphy, music, painting, industry, agriculture, military, economy, education, system, human nature, food, medicine, and so on. Are these things that humans can know?" Li Longji thought this, but he didn't ask. Of course, even if he asked, Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't tell him. He would say that most of these things were already included in the 12 years of compulsory education. When he and Cuckoo were children, they learned a lot of things. Basically, every day, other than eating and sleeping, their schedule was almost full. Moreover, they didn't start from the first year of the 12 years of compulsory education. Usually, they started from the time they were a fetus, followed by infant education, preschool education, and all kinds of arts. They started learning piano at the age of 4, and by the time they were 8 years old, there were countless people who had reached level 10. After the 12 years of compulsory education, those who really wanted to learn would learn more and more. Cuckoo was already a genius, and with her family's influence, you couldn't imagine how many things she knew. If it were him, he would have to be more humble. He didn't have a systematic education, but his learning ability wasn't bad either. The school he attended was different. This was what it meant that the path was intangible, but different paths led to the same destination. When he thought about how other people's children learned so much, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "At that time, a child like Xiaobei would at least know 4 professional skills, right? It shouldn't be a problem to play the 3 plum blossoms with the flute. Our education still hasn't caught up, and we let them play." "Xiaobao, what are you saying? Are you belittling my children? Xiaobei and the others haven't learned anything yet? Yes, if we really compare them to you and Cuckoo, they are still lacking. They can only be said to have learned something and have their own strengths, but they can't compare to the two of you. However, is it possible to find a second pair of Xiaobao and Cuckoo in this world? How many of Xiaobei's 9 can there be? Perhaps Juner and Pan, or can catch up if they work hard. As for the other children, even if they have Chaoyang, they can't catch up. This is the injustice of the world. You can't put in all your effort to teach every child. You can only do your best for your own siblings. Alright, let's not talk about this. Why didn't anyone teach me this when I was young? Otherwise, how could I tolerate you?" Li Longji was very jealous, so he spoke the truth. He understood that his ability wasn't good enough. If he killed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, he would face very serious consequences. Not to mention whether or not he could kill the two of them. Even if he did, how would the people behind them react? How would he face a country that could possibly create weapons that could kill an entire capital? There was also the die-hard loyalty of the Zhang family and Wang family around Great Tang, as well as the excitement of the surrounding countries. Great Tang's financial system would instantly collapse. No matter which one it wasn't something that he could bear. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan weren't angry. Any emperor wouldn't like power that they couldn't control, just like the two of them. They also didn't like many people, such as the aristocratic families who monopolized land, or the poor who were lazy. However, they still had to endure. This was selfishness and choice. A completely selfless person was the most terrifying. They had to be eliminated. Without selfishness, there would be no weakness. After Li Longji finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Bao and Cuckoo and said helplessly, "I knew the two of you would be like this. It's said that the two of you are the reincarnations of immortals. Tell me the truth, is that true?" That depends on how you look at it. According to Buddhism, everyone is a Buddha. It's up to you to say that it's the 6 paths of reincarnation. However, according to Taoism, it's extremely mysterious and profound. Your Majesty, let's talk about the welfare of mothers and children. Zhang Xiaobao didn't answer directly. Instead, he beat around the bush. Li Longji recovered from his shock and said, "Right, welfare is something that should be done. Children are the hope. Use that piece of glass to advertise that the children of Great Tang are stronger than those of other countries from the moment they're in their mother's body. I believe that when they grow up and see the situation of other countries, they'll know how much Great Tang has sacrificed for them. If they don't love Great Tang, they'll be letting down their own conscience." Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, "That's right. It can also let the people of other countries feel that their country isn't worth protecting." Chapter 1028. One of the things that Li Longji loved the most was to see how the lives of the citizens of other countries were not as good as his own country. He would constantly compare them and feel extremely satisfied and proud. In the past, he had this problem. He would go on a pilgrimage to Mount Tai and make a big fuss about it. He was afraid that no one would know about it. Whenever he went to a place, the local government would spend a lot of money. Whenever he was happy, he would exempt a few years of taxes, reducing the finances of the imperial court. Now he also liked to travel, but he was not so extravagant. He didn't specially go to a certain place where he didn't need to be received. So he made a curious connection between tourism and the promotion of fertility. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, "How's the construction of the Great Tang going? I want to patrol Great Tang. Summer will be here soon, and I'm afraid that there will be a flood at the Yangtze River. I'm going to make preparations in advance. At the same time, I can promote the national policy of promoting fertility. Isn't this killing 2 birds with 1 stone?" Zhang Xiaobao would be a fool if he believed his words. If you want to travel, so be it. Who's stopping you? What's the point of finding excuses? Thus, Zhang Xiaobao didn't reply. Wang Wan couldn't help but laugh. She said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, the construction of the Great Tang doesn't need to be grand. It's fine as long as it's comfortable. When you're not here, you can use it to play movies and become a place for ordinary people to visit. Don't take the initiative to collect entrance fees. Put a donation box inside, and say that it's used for Great Tang's infrastructure. Rich people will be willing to throw in some money. Then use that money to pay maintenance fees and give a portion to Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao can use it on Great Tang's infrastructure. You can also set up stalls for people to rent and sell local specialties and snacks. You can set a profit ratio. I believe that few people will dare to challenge your authority. Don't rip off the tourists. This is a place where publicity is the most important. You can't put the cart before the horse." After which, Wang Wan looked at the sand table and reminded Zhang Xiaobao, "The wind direction has changed. Change the place to release the smoke." "Oh, okay. Give the order. Extinguish the fire in the northeast and ignite the fire in the west." Zhang Xiaobao looked at the sand table. That was right. The messenger had already changed the model to test the wind direction. Li Longji and Wei Wei shook their heads. I reckon that Zhao Hanzhong will come looking for the two of you later. Look at how you've bullied him. Do you still have the honor of a soldier? You're just like a rascal. Smoke, smoke, smoke. All you know is to smoke. Your Majesty, you can't say that. If I had other means, would I have ordered people to shout, harass, and release smoke? You will know later, whether it is the Navy, the Army, or the Air Force, when attacking the enemy, you must hide yourself. Take the artillery for example. Now that they are firing at our army is able to hold on. If our army also has artillery battalions, would they dare to fire as they please? When his cannonballs fell on our infantry positions, our cannonballs fell on his artillery positions. What's the big deal about smoke? In the future, I will release poisonous gas. If the wind blows, a large number of people will die. Who cares if he is a rascal or not? It's fine as long as fewer people die in our army, Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently. He was the kind of person who was ruthless to himself, and even more ruthless to others. He would only show his kind side to the children of his own country. This was also the point that made Wang Wan feel the most conflicted when she evaluated him. Li Longji's personality was actually quite similar to Zhang Xiaobao's. The only difference was that in the past he could bear to do anything to anyone, even if they were children of great Tang. This had something to do with his family upbringing and environment. Now a lot had changed. The environment had changed, so there was pressure and motivation. Ever since Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to interact with him, he felt a special feeling. It was relaxation, affection, and tranquility. When the two of them were a little older, Xiaobei and the other 9 children became lively again. This made Li Longji realize that it was better for him to have a few people around him who didn't treat him like an emperor. Right now, Li Longji was experiencing this kind of interaction. He liked to hear Xiaobao speak casually. He understood that it wasn't that Xiaobao didn't know how to speak in a bureaucratic tone like the other ministers. Even Xiaobao knew how to do it, let alone Xiaobao. Of course, Xiaobei's bureaucratic tone was very cute. Only those with ulterior motives would be afraid of it. This was because when Xiaobei spoke in a bureaucratic tone, it was when she was about to teach someone a lesson. What she liked to do the most was to tell stories to others. Li Longji's eyes narrowed. He enjoyed chatting with Xiaobao and Cuckoo, even if Xiaobao was speaking bloody words. Reporting, enemy General Zhao Hanzhong is cursing at the front of the formation. Ask our generals to go out and meet him. The messenger's words interrupted Li Longji's leisurely moment. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the messenger and curled his lips in disdain. I don't want to meet him. What? He wants to fight me one-on-one? Does he want me to use a gun? If he uses a rifle, I'll let him hide as he pleases within 500 meters. If he uses a pistol, he won't even have the chance to fire within 50 meters. I think you'll use a knife and he'll use a gun. The messenger held back his laughter as he spoke. Do you think he can win if I use a knife? Give me 2 throwing knives. Let's see how he'll aim at me. Unless the bullets miss and hit me, he'll continue to give me smoke. How will I have the time to answer him? Zhang Xiaobao was still full of disdain. After the messenger left, Li Longji said, I believe in your ability, Xiaobao. If it's one-on-one, Zhao Hanzhong is far from your match. Just now, when Cuckoo said to ask people to donate money, I feel that I don't need that little bit of money. It's as if I'm poor. Your Majesty, I've told you before that the purpose of donating money is not for that little bit of money, but for the heart. Love is the essence of the people of Tang. If you don't promote it, who will donate money to buy things for their children when they need to carry out operations in the future? However, we have to spend the money donated. Since we don't need donations, we can still do things. Why should we be greedy for that little bit of money? If we're greedy enough, the hearts of the people will turn cold. It's just like Xiaobei's story of the boy who cried wolf. Zhang Xiaobao explained the purpose of asking people to donate money. It wasn't about how much money they could raise, but how high their hearts could soar. Yes, I've mentioned this before. Li Longji recalled. At the same time, he took back what he said about not having much money. After all, Tang's operations in the Chaoyang Empire cost a lot. They were all paid for by merchants from all over the country. According to Xiao Bao, merchants had a low status, so they had to do more to gain the recognition of others. Otherwise, if they earned a lot of money but were looked down on by others, it would be too sullen to live. It wasn't even a tenth of the love and respect that a poor scholar received during his lectures. That was to have a million strings of coins and be cold and indifferent to others. The most frightening thing wasn't coldness, but indifference. Li Longji had asked Xiao Bao how much all the schools in Great Tang spent when added together. In the end, he had obtained a vague figure. Based on the dormitory that the schools built for the students who came from afar and provided 4 to 5 meals a day, and based on the quality of the meals and the standards of the books and uniforms, they spent at least 20 million strings of coins a year. Based on the 12 months of Great Tang's fiscal revenue, this took up about 1/7 of the total. Just thinking about it was enough to scare someone to death. The treatment of the children was simply too good. The main reason was that the status of the merchants wasn't high enough. They needed money, and more importantly, they needed the recognition of the people of Great Tang. Of course, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo also played a role in this. Through incessant propaganda and clear attitudes, the merchants knew what to choose. Xiao Bao, our Great Tang's merchants really don't have it easy. They were scared by you and spent all their money. Say they. Don't put the blame on me. I'm not scaring them. It's only 20 million strings of coins. If they don't spend it, I'll do it myself. I don't need to use the imperial court's revenue. Nor do I need to use your money. I can support it myself. But if they really force me to spend my own money, my family's annual income won't be 60 or 70 million strings of coins. It might even rise to 100 million strings of coins. Since they aren't willing to take the money, I won't give them a chance to make a lot of money. As long as the Great Tang's imperial court doesn't interfere or suppress me politically, I control the Ministry of Works and the Agriculture Temple, as well as a large number of production, logistics, sales, and trade systems. I won't be able to deal with them. The rich are heartless, and I won't talk about fairness with them. I'll just give them a good ideological lesson. Zhang Xiaobao was still as radical as ever. What he meant was that he didn't care about what others said. He earned the money through hard work. He was smart and willing to do it, so why should he pay for it? Was it wrong to be smart and hardworking? This was because Zhang Xiaobao believed that there was no such thing as truth in this world. You were smart and hardworking because the imperial court provided you with opportunities. They didn't provide you with good seeds, industrial technology for civilian use, or convenient information tools like the telegraph system. If they didn't create stable political, economic, and military conditions for you, how could you earn the money you have now? Our Great Tang has always been in a state of war and invasion. If you're smart to a certain extent, you won't be earning money, but thinking of a way to become an emperor. Fairness itself is a scale. How many weights, how strong a lever, and how long a distance do you need to use a small number of merchants to move the majority of ordinary people and maintain that balance? If things go wrong, the scale will break, and the weight will fall and smash your feet. Wang Wan also understood Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts, so she added, Xiaobao won't talk about fairness with merchants. This is because Xiaobao has always been suppressing his desires. He doesn't use many methods because he's afraid that it will affect the normal operation of Great Tang's economy and cause losses to the common people. Thus, Xiaobao has always been standing on the high ground and demanding of other merchants. If a merchant says that you don't want to use your abilities, that's your own problem. What right do you have to restrict me? Then, Xiaobao will use some methods on them. Not only will I not restrict you, but I won't restrict myself as well. This is fair, right? I won't ask you to do anything. We'll rely on our own means, and we'll be responsible for our own lives. I believe that the merchant who speaks the opposite in the end will think that it's better to restrict him. Li Longji nodded with a smile. That's right, that's right. What merchants are afraid of isn't how high Xiaobao's moral standing is, but the ability of this industry. Sheep don't have the right to talk about fairness with wolves, because wolves will die if they don't eat sheep. Reporting the enemy's commander, Zhao Hanzong, is challenging us again. He wants to meet with our commanders. A messenger came in to report. Zhang Xiaobao said unhappily. Is he done yet? Cuckoo, give me a pair of binoculars. I'll go and meet him from afar. I'll scare him to death. Yes, meet him. Ha, he's challenging me. If I don't trick him, I'll be letting down his persistence. Zhang Xiaobao, who suddenly thought of something fun, took a pair of binoculars from Wang Wan, walked out, and rushed to Zhao Hanzhang's room. I'll also go and take a look. Li Longji greeted Wang Wan and followed him out. Wang Wan sat there without moving. She couldn't go and meet Zhao Hanzhang, as that would expose her position as the main force. She looked at the door and muttered, Xiaobao is coming up with bad ideas again. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.